I want to welcome you guys to this week's podcast episode. It is with Coach Chase Brady, who recently graduated with his degree in exercise science, and my wife, Cassie Wellock, who is primary care practitioner and runs vertical primary care here inside the gym. And this week, we talk about supplements. We get into it pretty heavy, and I want to give you guys just a little intro before we get into the bulk of this conversation, kind of what to expect and a little bit of framework to use for yourself that I didn't really touch in the podcast. So we go over lots of supplements, and most are around general health, some fitness performance, but the supplement space is crazy. And if you guys do have questions on other supplements, something we didn't cover, let us know. We'll be happy to do the research and dig into them deeper. These are topics that other people do want to hear about. So if you have a question on a supplement, I guarantee you there are other people that have the same question on a supplement. So please let us know. But I want to give you this little framework when it comes to supplements that I find valuable. It's easy when this influencer, this person says this supplement did this for me, and it's easy to go and I need to try this supplement. I need to do this supplement. Honestly, over the years, may not seem like it, but I've pared back supplements that I take. I'm constantly evaluating the what and the why of my supplements. And if you guys are looking to take a supplement and want to take a supplement, I think you need to think of these couple things. What is the potential downside? What's the risk? What is the potential upside? What does the research say? And what am I supplementing for? Can I get this in whole food? Why am I not getting this from whole food? And answering those questions can help, is this supplement going to be good for me? One, if the risk outweighs the reward, then probably not going to do that. Is it going to be good financially? I mean, the supplement industry and supplements can get very expensive. For instance, this new one that I'm about to start taking because of this podcast is the reason I started carrying it, is colostrum, but it's a very expensive supplement. It might be one of the most expensive supplements per serving that I've ever taken. But there's a huge potential upside that I'm willing to invest and see if it has those positive effects on me. And you'll learn why in the podcast. But I had to go through that scenario. What's the upside? What's the downside? How much money am I spending on this? And is it worth it? And to me, it's worth giving it a try. So kind of work that framework. Communicate with your coach on supplements you might be interested in. Why? Just don't jump into the next supplement because this person said it. I said it, and one of our coaches said it. Let's ask these questions and make sure we're just being very intentional about our supplement intake, both for our health, long-term, short-term. What kind of outcomes are we looking for? And also, making sure we're being responsible budget-wise. I don't like people wasting their money on supplements that have very little research, that have no true, shown positive response. I use examine.com. I'm a paid member there. That's where I dig a lot of my research out when it comes to supplements that I take and that I sell. And it's an unbiased, research-based platform that aggregates all the data and research for all the supplements. And they are supported by people like me who are members. They're not supported. No supplement companies can pay for their own research, promote their supplements. It's very independent. So it's a great resource. I wouldn't expect, everyday person to pay for a membership for something like this, but I do have access to it. So if you have questions on supplements, I can dig through the research. I can look at what the data says in regards to that supplement, and then also anecdotally, what kind of responses members and people are getting from their supplements, and what I've seen over, going on 20 years of experience with people in various supplements. So I think it's advantageous to have those conversations, not just with yourself, but with your coach. That's what we're here for. That is what we're here to be a resource for. So I want to give that framework, and I hope you guys enjoy the episode, and we'll get right into it now. Here we go. Do you guys need intro music? How about a round of applause? There we go. Yeah. Please talk to Fiki. Come on, man. My intros are legit. People are digging them, I think. All 5 people that listen to this stuff. Funny enough, I had a couple people, literally 2 today, come up and tell me, like, I'm really, really enjoying your pod. No, 3. Really enjoying your podcast. And they said that your product, like, it looks like super legit.
Oh.
It does look legit.
So
Nice.
it's like pleasing to the eye to watch.
Yeah. Because before it was just, where did we used to do the podcast? Like a long time ago when it was DE Raw.
Oh, that was gross.
Yeah.
We've done them at the South Gym in the back room, but those weren't video. So it was just mic. So, yeah. So anyways, today I have my beautiful, very smart wife on the podcast,
I thought we were going to go with Chase first.
Cassie
with that.
Wellock. And then I have Chase. No, I got the amazing, young, smart, talented.
There we go. Thank you so much. I love words of affirmation.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Newly crowned Master Brady.
Oh, thank you so much.
You've been waiting for that, haven't you?
I have. Yeah. Well, Master Chase. Master Brady still doesn't sound right.
Well, if you said Master Bader, that would be a problem.
Well, Master Bader and Master Brady sound pretty damn similar, especially when you say it fast.
Not
Master
on these
Brady.
mics. It's clean.
Well, I
All right.
mumble.
Master Chase.
There we go.
Master Chase has finished his schooling, so he is now qualified to be on the podcast.
Sure. God, you're a dick.
So, the goal of today's topic, funny enough, I've done 2 podcasts so far that are sitting on my computer about supplements. And I watched them and I didn't like them. Hey, I talked about what I take, kind of why, and this and that. And there's just so many questions around supplements. And the more that I ingest the influencer world, it's kind of a shit show. There's so many opinions. The supplement world is, what were we saying before this?
Shit show.
Yeah, absolute shit show. Peter Attia recently was talking about supplements, and he said if you take all the bad things that take place in pharmaceuticals and multiply it times 100, you have the supplement industry.
Sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, at least pharmaceuticals are somewhat oversight, and like if you get this, drug, you're getting that drug. Whereas the supplement industry, I mean, from protein powder, the simplest thing you could think, all the way through anything, you don't 100%, there's no confirmation unless it's third-party tested. So the goal of this podcast with both of you is to, 1, go over health and supplements, and also sports performance, training and supplements. I have kind of an outline, but there's going to be more like a round table discussion, if you will. And we've talked about like supplements and related to blood work. I think there's very important aspects there, like when we were talking about vitamin B, for instance, and stuff like that. But how do we want to start this off? Do we want to start off health, general supplements, a consensus?
I think you started off kind of already with how they're regulated.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to go through that.
You did it.
I'm going to try my hardest not to say, yeah.
That's our podcast quest today for Chase, not to use the word yeah.
Not to use the word yeah. It's a freaking bad word again. Let's go into, I think we should go into third-party testing and just kind of how they're regulated, because we can talk about that briefly.
Yeah. Yep.
So how supplements are regulated, all of them, is it's a branch under the FDA. So the Food and Drug Administration oversees oversees all pharmaceuticals, right? Mm-hmm. So say I want 200 grams of ibuprofen. Each pill has exactly 200 grams of ibuprofen. Where the supplements company goes, or where it's really the Office of Dietary Supplements, is where that's the branch underneath the FDA. What they do essentially is, okay, let's say that us 3 are going to start a supplement company. We can say, hey, this is what is in X powder or X pill or whatever. We can put that in there, and we can also put whatever else we want in there. All right. Now, the problem is that a lot of companies, when they do this, they can put, illegal substances in there, whatever. And here's the really big issue is let's say there's 100 supplement companies in the world. The FDA, the department that oversees all supplements, they only get to about 10% of the ones in the United States a year. So that means they only get to 10 companies. What that means is that you have the other 90 that really aren't being regulated whatsoever. They're putting whatever willy-nilly into their supplements that they want to.
Or nothing.
Or nothing. They could just give you, literally just say, this is protein powder. Guess what? It's just chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Right? It's Yoo-hoo mix.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important that when you are looking for a supplement, you kind of the companies have to have their own integrity and their own discretion to make sure, like, hey, what you're getting is exactly what you're getting. Mm-hmm. So that's where the third-party testing becomes so like seminal, because if it doesn't have that, then they're relying on their own testing metrics. And what a third-party testing thing does is essentially is a third party comes in, goes through all of their supplements, makes sure that whatever they're saying is in it is exactly what is in it. It's never going to be to the same standards as, say, the FDA overseeing pharmaceuticals, but it is much better than, if you want, like, for instance, Transparent Labs does third-party testing.
Yep.
And then let's say we go to Mr. Bob's, definitely not steroid pills. And they're like, no, there's no steroids in here. And then it gets third-party tested, and it was supposed to be just protein powder, and there's like tren in it. Like that's what we can be dealing with.
Where have
here.
you been buying that?
Don't worry about it.
Oh.
I gotta beat you somehow. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So I think what's really important is that whenever you're buying a supplement, as a very guiding light for this conversation, is you need to make sure it says third-party tested at the bottom.
Yep.
And whenever all the supplements I take, I make sure they're third-party tested.
Yeah. So,
and typically companies are very proud of their third-party testing.
That's what I was going to say.
And they will spackle it all over the label 5 different ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
yep. So I was going to say that companies they subject themselves to third-party testing.
Correct.
To get that accreditation so that you're getting what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very simple thing. If you're buying 4 pounds of protein for $49, chances are you're not getting quality, and chances are that company's not third-party tested. So, I mean, that protein powder just pops off the top of my head when it comes to the shit show of the supplement industry.
So, funny enough, the way that we have a list of like the most common abused supplements that there are, and it typically goes weight loss supplements, and then male enhancement supplements,
like testosterone boosters.
Nope, think different.
Like boner pills.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like blue rhinos. Yeah. Yeah, and then it goes like sports supplements, and then so typically like weight loss supplements are the most abused, and male endowment, male endowment ones, and then the sports supplements are usually the next ones.
Yeah, and just one quick caveat on the third-party testing: if you are an athlete, it's very important.
Correct,
because there have been people in multiple levels of sport that have been, I'm just taking creatine, for example, but it's got some other stuff that are banned supplements mixed into it. And so, yeah, when it comes to your sports and being regulated by whatever the agency is that.
Yep. So WADA does
that's right.
WADA does all of like the world, like the Olympics and stuff like that. And then the NCAA has like their own specific testing one. I'm forgetting the name on it, but it's like a United States National Testing something. They have their own party that they use for the NCAA. And then CrossFit, I believe, also uses a branch similar to WADA, but it's not WADA, because WADA is a little bit more expensive because they're thorough.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much the overview on third-party testing and supplements.
Yep.
If you're buying stuff that's like, it's so much cheaper than what you carry, which I hear from often.
Yep.
That's why it's cheaper. Usually it's not third-party tested and it's lesser quality. And in the supplement space, I will argue till I'm blue in the face, you pay for quality. And I think that's important. So
Another thing to point out that I just wanted to go over is when a supplement says proprietary blends.
bullshit.
Correct. So proprietary, I can't say that word.
Proprietary blends.
Thank you. That thing. What supplements can do is say, okay, we have this blend, and there's 3,000 milligrams of that blend in each scoop or each serving of the supplement, and it can this has been really common with
Creatine's a big one.
creatine.
So finish.
I was thinking was like cordyceps, so like mushroom powders, also like green mixes. It's been like, hey, we have this proprietary. They call it some like really fancy buzzword of like this health matrix, freaking live to a longevity matrix, whatever crap. And then it's like 3,000 milligrams of this, and it'll have all these like things that you might want. But what a proprietary blend means is that they can put whatever amount of whatever of those blends into the mix. So let's say you wanted these 5 molecule or these 5 supplements over here. Okay, well, you're actually just getting dehydrated spinach powder, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the proprietary trick is to increase margins. Typically in supplement space, creatine monohydrate is one of the most bastardized supplements when it comes to proprietary blends. All the research for like 30, 40 years, creatine monohydrate is the most researched supplement in simplest form. It is also cheap to make, and it's a low margin supplement. So a lot of supplement companies will add proprietary blend like this creatine absorbs better and faster or whatever. And you'll notice that jug of creatine for X servings is $20 more than this jug of creatine for the same X servings. It's purely a scam to increase margins on that product. So that's why, I mean, for instance, I only sell creatine monohydrate, and anybody worth their weight in this space is 100%. It's simple creatine monohydrate. But anyways, that's great.
Enough of that.
Enough of that.
All the boring stuff's over.
Big thing is obviously a huge part of the gym, myself personally, is general health. I mean, my supplements for sport has to do with recovering from training to be able to continually train for my health. I'm not taking supplements to enhance other than beat you at workouts. We just, it's okay. I know it's going to be short-lived.
It is going to be short-lived.
But my wife, she does obviously internal medicine and
Family medicine.
Family medicine. Sorry. What's the difference?
There's not a big difference. Internal medicine's more focused on like 65 and older,
Gotcha.
more geriatric population.
Gotcha.
HIPAA's going to come in and tackle both of us right now. Actually, just you're the one who said it.
Damn it. So family medicine.
There's a lot of overlap, so it's okay. And I've done both.
But you go from ages 12 and up, so that's what makes it family medicine versus just internal med. Gotcha. So in her new practice here at the gym, she is obviously now working with a population that's very motivated for their health. And me personally, that is one of the big drivers between what and why I supplement. So when we start, when it comes to what you look at in practice, what questions you're getting, and the overall arching wellness of, I guess, supplement usage from your perspective, and obviously we'll go back and forth and chime in on this, but in general, as a practitioner, what are you looking for?
Well, as we've discussed, I think the biggest thing for me with supplements as far as recommending it is I think that everything has to be done with purpose.
Yep.
There's thousands and thousands of different supplements, like you said, from protein powder to vitamin C to weight loss agents to adaptogens. Like the list is endless. So I'm a big advocate of getting your macro and micronutrients and vitamins and minerals and everything through the foods that you eat.
Glad you said that. That's probably how we should have front-loaded this whole conversation. Like, all of us sitting at the table are 100% on whole food first.
Correct.
Supplement deficiencies or inefficiencies if you have something going on metabolically. So
correct.
Yeah, so that should be like the foundation. But then if there are additional things or symptoms or goals that we're trying to achieve and a supplement may be a tool to use, then that's when we should consider it. With blood work, sometimes that points us in a direction of some specific supplements that might be advantageous, such as CBC if you have evidence of anemia, looking for like iron or B12 deficiency, folic acid deficiency. CMP, like again, looking at kidney function, liver enzymes, fasting blood sugar. It just depends on like what our goal overall is.
Yeah. So you've mentioned to me that you're vitamin D deficient until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
So that seems to be a staple that you're, one, checking on labs, and two, most likely supplementing.
Yeah, I usually recommend everybody supplement vitamin D. We just don't get enough sunshine. It is fortified in some of the foods that we eat. But if, again, you're eating mostly whole foods, it's just not naturally in a lot of foods that we eat. And we all spend, our sunshine comes from lights, so instead of the sun.
Either most likely heard, because I don't read a lot, vitamin D, even getting from sunshine, is still difficult for a lot of people. I mean, skin pigmentation can play a role in that.
Sunscreen blocks the absorption. Sunglasses block the absorption.
So that seems to be an area still where people, even if you spend a lot of time outside, potentially can have some deficiencies.
And I think it's really important. So vitamin D is like a cofactor to a lot of cell processes in the body. There's vitamin D receptors on brain tissue, muscle tissue, fat tissue. So it's more like a hormone than it is a vitamin. It helps in many different processes. It's easy to fix, so I feel like it should be fixed in most individuals.
It also extremely resembles like cholesterol. Like on a molecular base, if you look at the cholesterol molecule and the vitamin D molecule, they're pretty damn identical. So and cholesterol goes everywhere in our body, right? And so I always like to think of vitamin D as it's the one molecule that we get from sunshine that you can also ingest with food, and we can also make it ourselves. So it's probably really important to have that one.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, we can use me as an example. When we can going back to my blood work, I think I had like 31 or something like that. And ever since I started taking it, since we last spoke, I felt amazing. Granted, I'm taking a few other things, but I have noticed that like my entire body feels a lot better.
Oh, that's great.
Once again, preface this with I'm also taking a lot of other supplements.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that there is like a lot more energy and there's a bigger sense of health in my body. And so I think we've all become so accustomed to maybe being vitamin D deficient that it's like, oh, this is just me. And when you actually get something that your body's been kind of like, yo, I really would like this right now, and you get it, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel awesome. This is great.
Yeah.
So
most people don't know they have vitamin D deficiency, but I would say muscle aches and fatigue are the most common symptoms that people have. And I've definitely had quite a few people that tell me they feel phenomenally different once we correct it. So,
yeah. And real quick mechanism of action there. It seems vitamin D3 needs to be delivered with K2. It's kind of the consensus in the space. Yes.
I think K2 is very important to take with vitamin D. It's a fat soluble vitamin, so it's more important that you're eating it with food, or it comes in like an oil capsule usually too.
Okay.
I think.
And then calcium, how does that play?
K2 is important for calcium because it helps you get your calcium into your bones.
Gotcha.
What were you going to say, Chase?
I was just going to say that we could talk about briefly the fat soluble vitamins versus the water soluble vitamins.
Yeah.
So fat soluble vitamins are D, A, E, and then K. So when you have those vitamins, it's really important that you have them with a meal. Typically, all of our meals will have some kind of fat with them, and when we have fat with our meal, it helps increase the absorption of those 4 molecules, which are also, all of those are very important molecules. But whereas water soluble vitamins, I don't like to take anything on an empty stomach, but it's not like the most important thing that you have to have like fat or some kind of other macronutrient when you're taking a water soluble vitamin.
Yeah. No, I typically take my vitamin D at the end of the day. I don't take it first thing in the morning. It's usually because I've already had food and everything.
And with the fat soluble vitamins, most of the time it's very hard to overdose on a vitamin. And the water soluble ones, you just pee them out if you take them in excess. But the fat soluble ones, you do have to be a little bit careful. Like vitamin A in particular, like you can have toxicity from vitamin A. So making sure you're watching the dosages. And again, I would say only encourage taking vitamin A if there was a very specific reason you needed to.
Like night blindness,
Right.
for instance.
Cool. So vitamin D, important.
Mucho.
What's the next one in the medical world?
B12 is probably a good one to talk about.
Water-soluble vitamin.
I would like to talk about that one
B12.
because I get annoyed by it.
Okay.
Why do you get annoyed by it?
The pop-up clinics. It's like,
Oh, like the infusions? Like where they...
well, you got those infusions. But the little, like the testosterone hormone clinics that pop up everywhere. Then you got the infusion drip clinics, which there's some value, but everywhere it's like, come in and get your B12 shot. Come in and get your B shot, And
I feel so energized.
Well, I was asking her, so for instance, I was at a golf game or doing a fundraiser with Alex, and they had on one of the holes, they had a booth with B12, and I literally signed a document and they just shot me up. Like, I don't think that's good.
You could just drink a 5-hour energy. You know that, right?
Well, yes and no, but it seems gross to me. And then you have people spending $50, $100, a month or an injection to get this B12. And is it even doing anything? I don't know. So I asked her, what is your medical? She does B12 injections. What is your medical perspective on the B?
I do think that there can be some benefits from it. A lot of people will experience like an energy bump, brain function. It's pretty rare that someone's truly deficient in B12 unless they're like a vegetarian or they have pernicious anemia, which is where they lack intrinsic factor and they can't absorb it appropriately. But I would say symptomatically, some people do feel a benefit. I don't think you need it weekly. Usually if I give somebody a B12 shot once a month, their B12 is above the range already. But so you're doing it for more symptom management. But they don't necessarily need it as like a nutritional supplement.
So with B12 and B vitamins in general, so I look at my multivitamin, my AG1, there's a 2,000 or 12,000 to like 25,000% of your daily value in a lot of these. So if you have a multivitamin and then you're taking a B complex and then getting a B shot.
But I don't need all that.
And
You're going to pee a lot.
Well, I've had some people in the gym tell me like they're taking all this B.
Yep.
Well, one, they weren't even aware of it being in the multivitamin. So that's already a problem. You should understand what's in your vitamin bag. And then, it's like, oh, you hear from this influencer, take, this B complex. So you order the B complex, you add that in, and then you go and your best friends went and got one of these shots and they had amazing energy. So now you're going to get the shot. And like all of a sudden, you're at 10 million% of your daily value of B vitamins.
Yeah, you got to be careful. And I would say B complex, I have a little bit concerns specifically, I can't say that word, with B6. So B6 can be very valuable, again, for like mood regulation. It can help women with like PMS symptoms and brain function, homocysteine levels. But
so B6 is for homocysteine?
B6, B9, and B12 can all help.
Okay.
But if you have excess B6, it can cause like numbness and tingling, which can be bad. And I've actually had a couple patients have that when their B6 is too high. So B complex vitamins, I do get a little bit concerned because the B6 can be, like you said, like 2,500% of the recommended daily value.
No, some of the numbers on the RDA values are insane.
Yeah.
I get it with water soluble. You're just making expensive pee at that point.
So, but at some point, you're also going to be, your kidneys going to be like, bro, this is not fun no more.
Pump your brakes.
Yeah. We have a whole year's worth of B vitamins in me right now, and I can only pee so much at a time, and you're not drinking any water.
Well, our body's like really efficient at absorbing B12 as well. So when your B12 level is elevated, it could take honestly years for it to come back down. Like it's just very efficient. Yeah. So, I mean, there is benefits to B12 in particular, and again, there's not a lot of harm with taking it in excess. But if you're not a vegetarian and again you don't have pernicious anemia, do you absolutely need it? Probably not. Likely your B12
your basic multivitamins enough.
Correct. And that's what I was going to say is it's pretty much in any multivitamin that you're going to take.
Yeah.
And from a sports side of it, B vitamins are typically really good for helping like macronutrient absorption. So like fat and carbohydrate absorption. So that's why people sometimes feel like if you're deficient in it, specifically for if you are anemic, so we can see this a lot more like in female runners, so to speak, because they do run so much, and they do with their menstrual cycle, they do end up bleeding a lot more. So we can, that's a whole different area. But if they have a B vitamin deficiency and then we start giving them B vitamins, okay, great. Now you guys get a little bit more carbohydrate absorption, a little bit more fat absorption. And you're like, oh my gosh, I feel great. Well, yeah, you'd feel great because you were deficient in it. So there is that part, and that's where that's why when I like look at like a B vitamin capsule or a B vitamin supplement pack, I just kind of laugh at it. Because one, most of us are already getting enough of it, but they market it. This is why marketing is important. Is they market it as like increase energy, increase absorption, like all this stuff, and it's like it's not really. If you were severely deficient, yeah, you're going to notice some stuff. But if you're fine, you aren't going to notice really anything, and you're just now having a lot of B vitamins in your body. What's the point?
That's what I get back with a lot of supplements too, is being very intentional how you're spending your money.
Correct.
Right? It's like you start stacking these supplements up, and then all of a sudden I have a $700 a month supplement bill.
Yep.
But 5 of the 20 supplements you're taking are all overlapping, and now you're creating really expensive pee and maybe an issue of overconsumption. So, last thing that I can think of with the B vitamins is the methylated stuff, the
MTHFR.
Yeah, that test. Methylated B vitamins versus non-methylated B vitamins.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the godforsaken influencers sphere, this was very hot for a while. Got to get the MTHFR gene.
I'm not familiar with that. Is that just with the B methylated, just increases the absorption of the?
It's for
it's actually important.
It's for, you have like a dysfunction in processing, specifically folic acid.
Oh, okay.
And then that can elevate your homocysteine levels and increased inflammation. Again, can affect mood in a lot of people. So
Gotcha.
A lot of people are heterozygous for that versus homozygous. So there can still be some deficiencies, like it's not optimal necessarily, which is where, methylated B vitamins, if you haven't been tested for it, I don't know if they're more expensive. Are they more expensive?
Yeah. Not much, but yes.
Yeah.
So on that, I know a couple people that have been tested for that. They did have the gene.
Heterozygous.
They switched to methylated B vitamins, and it was profound for them. So the question there is, if you just take methylated B vitamins, do you need the MTHFR gene test?
I know
some folks that paid $1,200 for this test.
Oh, it doesn't cost that much.
That's what I've said. Is that what is the clinic, the one you'd use?
I think it's $300. Yeah. It is a genetic test. Genetic tests can be more expensive. So I want to say $300 if I have it correct. But I do think it's valuable only in the regards where if somebody does have the MTHFR variant, then I do like to track those levels in them, especially homocysteine, just to make sure it's not elevated. And if it is, then do we need to adjust supplementation to try to get that homocysteine down?
So real quick, just so people have reference, I'll explain homocysteine, because that is one that it seems to pop up as an important blood marker. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot. I mean, it's an inflammatory marker, so it creates inflammation in the body, and it's in excess, it can start to cause damage as inflammation does. So you want to be able to have it regulated appropriately, and having the MTHFR, if you're not having that cycle appropriately, then it's not getting cycled and metabolized appropriately.
I was going to say, so B vitamins help when absorbed properly. If you don't have the gene, help your body naturally metabolize homocysteine so it doesn't keep stacking up in your system.
Yes.
Cool. Right.
I didn't know that one, actually. Once again, all my stuff.
We're all learning together.
I know.
I'm just over here just learning as we go. But next...
What? Next vitamin? Well, we talked about B6 already.
Yep.
And then, B9 is folate, for those that didn't know, those are the same thing.
Do you want to go through B vitamins for pregnancy?
We can. I don't touch a lot of vitamins. I mean, obviously, folate in particular is very important for it.
I think it's just as a brief review, like, hey, this one's good for fetal health and stuff like that.
Yeah, like Folic acid is for sure. I mean, generally speaking, if you have a good quality prenatal, it's going to have everything that you need. And then beyond that, with pregnancy, I'm really hesitant to recommend anything in particular just because a lot of things are contraindicated with pregnancy. What are your thoughts on that?
Zero, other than if my wife watches this, she's going to want to probably have an idea like, hey, what happens when, we're not pregnant, anyone. So calm down. Everyone calm down. We got a couple years. Everyone settle down. But I can understand that if Jamie watches this, she's like, hey, I have this idea about pregnancy. What should I take from when we do that? Just in case we're doing it.
You need a folate for neural development. If it's deficient, it's bad. But in general, a good prenatal is going to have you covered for sure.
Perfect.
And that's what I've heard over the years is just a good prenatal vitamin that you're consistent with.
Just wanted to touch on everything.
Yeah. No, it's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
Do the dudes have to take prenatal?
Sympathetic prenatal vitamin substitution.
We're doing this together.
Yep.
I can't even. I'm gonna nope. Not even gonna chime
Comment on
in.
that.
Why is Chase so emotional lately? I don't know.
Estrogen problems.
Yeah. He started taking a prenatal vitamin with Jamie. Just really weird.
Yeah. What's next? Oh, you guys should talk about creatine.
Oh, we're
You
going
kind of
to.
touched about. Oh.
I have a whole list of
he's got
performance
a list.
supplements.
You got all the things.
Yeah, because my general supplement I can speak into a little bit, but my world is performance
The
supplements.
last deal, and this is new to both of us, and when it comes to blood work and supplementation, is the omega-3s.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's on mine too.
I was listening to, I think it was Peter to you. Either way, but he tests specifically for omega-3 concentration because if you're sufficient, he doesn't find any reason to push it higher. So he thinks that's a very good one for a blood marker and then intentional supplementation. When it comes to omega-3s in your practice and whatnot, what, why, how much in general?
I usually utilize it again as a tool for triglycerides.
Okay.
But you have to take 2 to 3 grams to see an influence or reduction in triglycerides.
2 to 3 grams of EPA DHA?
Yeah. They don't really specify.
The composition of either or.
The good ones do.
I mean in the studies. I don't think they did. They just said 2 to 3 grams.
So I just want to finish up.
Yeah.
I have
Use your word.
I have a thorn in my side about the
we go.
EPA DHA fish oil industry and supplements.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's your thorn?
That most of the products out there are bullshit.
Oh.
You're so angry.
Okay.
I do get emotional over supplements.
I can tell.
Yeah.
But
that is a big thing with fish oil. You do have to make sure that has been oxidized, right? So you're not getting inflammatory components from the fish oil that you're taking. It's actually, again, being an antioxidant versus an inflammatory.
It's doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So real quick on the fish oil topic, when it comes to quality, this is a big deal. Buying good fish oil is, if you're going to take fish oil because you don't eat enough fish or you're trying to, correct triglycerides or help out wherever you can. There's a lot of shit out there. So when she says 3 grams per day, I've had people come to me, your fish oil is $55. Okay, you need to take 2 of my capsules. Well, I get this from Costco for, $20. Well, you need to take 16 of those horse pills when you look at the concentration side by side.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So this is a big one in fish oil. They'll sell this massive bottle with big horse pills in it. And you think you're taking your 2 and you're getting 3 grams. And you're not. And there's a blog that I put on our website. You could search it. That I did all the math for a couple different supplement companies when it comes to fish oil, like how many you need to take of this one versus this one. And all of a sudden, to hit the right amounts, the big box store supplement is 30% more expensive if you're going to take the right amounts. But then you got to swallow like 16 of those damn things.
Yeah.
So
I don't like them because you burp them up and they taste like fish.
Well, that also has something to do with the fish oil potentially being rancid.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like
I feel like the new bottle you got, I still burp them up.
This is your fault, Derek.
But it is a real
Maybe
thing.
it's just me. I don't know.
It is a real thing.
Yeah.
Like when I've taken a fish less quality, I guess, if you will, in the past, I will burp it up.
It's more fishy.
And like current fish oil, I don't burp it up at all. I've taken liquid fish oil. I've taken krill oil. I've tried to get EPA and DHA from flaxseed, which is kind of garbage.
Ugh.
Could eat sardines like me.
No, thank you. That's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line.
That's really fishy.
Or salmon.
Yeah.
Why don't we go through why anyone would want to take omega-3 before we start talking about what to take?
So, inflammation.
Correct.
Triglycerides.
Yeah.
Brain health.
Yeah. Eye health.
Eye health. That gets recommended, 2 to 3 servings of fish, two servings of fish per week as a standard well-rounded diet.
And no one usually does that.
I mean,
Cardiovascular health.
Cardiovascular health.
For blood health.
With cholesterol.
You could go with just blood health in general.
Yep.
Like it.
What else?
I think the main thing that I just want to go over is the reason, like there's omega-6s and there's omega-3s.
Yep.
Omega-6s are very common in like very processed food and all, even like butters and like
seed oils,
saturated fats, all that stuff, which is fine. Your body needs a certain amount of omega-6s, but we need a proper ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s.
Yep.
If we have too many omega-6s, we'll have an increased inflammation. Then we have detrimental effects to all these things that we just listed out. So the reason why we would take an omega-3 is to get that ratio back to where we want it to be.
Yep.
And so to Peter Attia, where you said, hey, if your ratio is fine, which is essentially what he is saying, yeah, there's really no reason to take fish oil because your ratio is fine. You don't want to have it go the other way because then there is too much of a good thing.
Yep.
So
yeah,
a lot of the things in the body are about ratios. Everything wants a nice, perfect, homeostatic relaxation. And whenever we start messing with that, we got to make sure that we counterbalance it. So that's why I just want to go through that, make sure that people, because with all these supplements, we want to also, I think it's important to recommend or be like, okay, what is this supplement supposed to do? And then kind of how does it work? We don't need to get into the extreme nitty gritty science.
No.
Unless people wanted us to. But all the supplements that we could probably talk about could be another 2-hour podcast in themselves. So,
Chase's point, we get a lot of omega-6 in our diet. If you actually look it up, like nuts can be off balance by a lot.
Almonds. That's the first one that came to my mind.
And we just add seed oil to everything.
Yeah, if it's processed food, like if it comes in a bag or a box, chances are
it's gonna be high in omega-6s.
Some kind of seed oil in it, and it's gonna be very high in omega-6. So if you do the aggregate addition on your omega-6 consumption, if you eat a high processed food diet, even a moderately processed food diet, this is one of the bigger leaders towards inflammation. And so obviously in our house, we're very attuned to inflammation. And that was a big deal. Like, it's a big deal to correct and keep that in check. So if you're feel inflamed, and there's good inflammation, don't get me wrong. I like to get most of my inflammation from training, not from processed food. So that's where I choose to build up my inflammatory response.
You're so spicy.
Yeah.
I think with fish oil, I test that. I'm Norwegian,
Are you? I thought you were more leaning like
Indian. Indian? Pakistani?
Native American?
Yeah. No, definitely not. So, the reason I say that, one, because I'm proud, and two, growing up, my grandma no matter what, we'd always have like fish. We'd always have salmon.
Okay.
And
that's great.
Yeah, salmon, potatoes, and carrots, and Brussels sprouts, and then Norwegian meatballs. But on top of that, she would also we're family friends with the owners of Nordic Naturals.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
it's a good company.
It is a great company. Yeah. So the reason I bring this up is if you bite into a omega-3 capsule from Nordic Naturals and you bite it, you're supposed to swallow it, but you can bite it, and then it's just basically what you would do if you just had a liquid form of the fish oil.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste bad. Like, it's a little fishy, but it's fine. And it's a little bit lemony, and it goes down very smoothly. If you were to do that with like I
have questions.
Of a Costco one, what do they do to the fish oil? If you were to do that with the Costco one, it's going to probably taste a little bit of like that putridy, rancidy smell, or where it's like almost like bad fish. And so obviously they keep it in a capsule and preserves it a little bit better, but when you're looking for omega-3 supplement, and you're like, hey, I want to make sure that this is okay, something you could do is you just bite on the capsule. And if it's going to be fishy no matter what, but if it's like, okay, I can handle it, okay, you're probably good. But if you
vomit,
vomit violently, you're like,
immediate gag response.
yeah, you're like, maybe I shouldn't take this. And that's not me saying, hey, take Nordic Naturals. It's just a good, way to justify.
I like their products.
Yeah,
I buy the kids stuff there.
I don't think I'm
my grandma would give us little orange gummies, and I still ate those until I was 18.
Those are the only ones the kids will take.
Yeah. I love those. Don't eat too many.
So do you do this often?
Every time I get a new bottle, I do.
Okay, that's actually I was gonna make sense.
And it's as soon as I open the bottle. So as soon as I open the bottle, it grosses out Jamie. But as soon as I open the bottle, I'll bite into them and be like, okay, yeah, we're still fine, and then I'll go through.
Fine. I have a question.
I'm gonna do that to my fish oil at home
because I asked Derek this question, but I don't know. Do they cold press the oil?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so because all of it comes from like the cod up in Norway, and then because that's like where their main, what's the word?
I don't know.
Manufacturing.
Thank you. God, that hurt. Their main manufacturing is in Norway.
Okay.
And then they ship them here.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. Last thing that I have on omega-6, omega-3 one. Fish, obviously great. The fatty fish, I believe salmon, like tuna is one of the worst.
Salmon, sardines,
cod. And it's like sardines, salmon, and halibut cod, I want to say. Don't quote me on that, but
halibut's a little bit leaner.
Yeah. Don't quote me on that, but there are a range of quality fish when it comes to this. And then when it comes to beef, grass-fed beef is going to have a much better ratio of omega-6 to omega-3s versus obviously a cow that's been filled with grains and stuff like that. So
I always think it's, just to go off of that, I always think it's funny when people find out that there's actually omega-3s in like lean meat. Like from if we're doing venison or an elk, and you're like, oh yeah, and like bison, there's a lot of actual omega-3s in it. It's like, yep, it's not just fish, everybody.
No. And obviously something that lives out in the land is going to have a much better because their food source isn't grain.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So let them chew the flax seeds for you.
Yeah. So nailed fish oil.
Yep.
Anything else from the medical side, blood work?
Those are kind of like some basic ones.
Yeah.
I have like the supplements that I take, but I don't think we really need to go through them because again, I'm on things that are very specific for me, mostly for hormonal stuff. But that could again be a podcast all on its own.
It can be, but we can touch on it at the end. I was going to go through all of the supplements that we take.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
individually.
Great. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So, first one, creatine. I literally got asked this morning if I think creatine's important. It's like, apparently I don't talk on Instagram.
Creatine's a steroid. That's my favorite one.
And this one has been very hot in this social, and I reference social media influencer space because a lot of people are consuming online content, and then it raises, and I feel as my job as an influencer, but more important,
passionate again.
very important as a coach of a fitness facility is to weed through the shit that is online and not just have an opinion, but educated thought on various products and things. Like there's a whole new thing going through the social medias right now that I've never even, questions are going to come up at some point, but creatine's been hot as of recent. A couple big, very intelligent folks like Andrew Huberman, Peter Attia, Rhonda.
Not Ronda Rousey. Think about it.
Rhonda Patrick. There's been a couple medical psychologists talking about it in reference to brain health and a lot of some new research coming out when it comes to helping with mood and mental health. Creatine is a big one for me. Clearly. And I've taken it on and off since I've tried 12 years old. I remember
Jesus.
When I first got into wrestling, my grandfather's like, start taking creatine.
You're time to become a man, boy.
I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised knowing your grandpa.
Oh, that's
There's
hilarious.
that multi-level marketing company. It'll come to me, but they made creatine gum. It's a gum, like you just chew on it and you get creatine. That was my first introduction to creatine.
Oh.
maybe not 12, more like 14 is
What
junior.
the hell?
So it's been around me in a sports related deal my whole life.
Oh my gosh.
And it's not something I've personally taken up until about 18 months ago, that it's now in my daily health supplement category that I'm pretty religious with it. Before then, I'd take it 3 months, 6 months and forget about it for a while or whatever. But I definitely notice. So, Chase, give me your thoughts on creatine before I just blabble on too long.
What is it? And then we can talk about it.
Yep.
3 energy pathways in the body. So right now, all of us are using we're all using our energy pathways to.
Hopefully using my fat one right now.
We're all using energy pathways to have this conversation. The energy pathways are phosphocreatine. There's a buzzword there. Glycolytic, and then oxidative phosphorylation. It has a very, very broad review.
Basically from 10 seconds out to hours of work.
Correct. When we're doing phosphocreatine, or we're in that phosphocreatine pathway, it's like short time frames, like 0 to 10 seconds. So like snapping my fingers is a good one. 100 max deadlift, 100-meter sprint, those kinds of things. What creatine?
I can't sprint 100 meters in 10 seconds.
Neither can I actually. 50 meters.
Some people can.
50-meter sprint. 50-meter sprint. So what creatine does is it provides fuel for the phosphocreatine pathway. We store creatine in our muscle fibers, and it's basically just hanging out there in the cytosol of the fibers. So that way, whenever we need quick energy, which would be ATP production, it can basically donate a phosphate, and then bam, we have energy. And it just keeps on cycling through that over and over and over again for whatever our activity is. The higher intensity of activity, the more creatine we're going to burn through.
What's the time domain on that?
0 to 10 seconds.
0 to 10 seconds for that.
Until it starts running out, or until we start moving over?
Well, just for training purposes in general, my understanding, up to 4 minutes is kind of the creatine.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Utilization.
So, yes, tented. Yeah. The problem is, or where you can kind of get it, where you can kind of battle that is, it's when you're, say we do a set of 1 rep max deadlifts or a set of 2 deadlifts and they're heavy, creatine will start to replenish as soon as we're done. And it takes about 1 minute to 2 minutes to get that back to kind of where we were beforehand. But inevitably that creatine will start to run out. We're gonna have to start pulling it from different areas. So what creatine monohydrate does is it helps provide a little bit more storage of creatine to be able to use in that phosphocreatine pathway. So what I always like to tell people is that it turns your 2 rep into your 3 rep, right? So if my 2 rep max now, what I was doing for my 2 rep max, I can now do for a 3 rep max. So it is pretty sizable. With that also being said, now that I have more creatine in my body to do more reps at heavier loads, you can also get a little bit more of a hypertrophic effect, because now my load is increased and I'm also able to do it at a higher intensity. So then now your muscle will start to grow a little bit more. So that's why when people start taking creatine, they're like, oh my gosh, my muscles feel so much bigger. I feel so much stronger or whatever. It's because, well, yeah, you start taking creatine. With creatine, typically the smaller you are, the less you need, because you're a smaller body. And typically the bigger you are, the more you need. That doesn't mean start taking 5 scoops a day, because there also is gastrointestinal stuff that can happen when you first start taking it. For me, as an example, when I take creatine, I take a rounded scoop.
Gotcha.
Right?
So 6 grams-ish.
Correct. I'm 220-ish pounds, so I take a rounded scoop, if that can be your guiding light.
Yep. And I take a leveled off scoop.
Yep, exactly. With creatine, there's lots of, hey, do I need to do creatine loading? Do I just need to do a certain gram per day? It gets very confusing. The loading is basically just making sure you're having a ton in your body and you're almost like increasing your sensitivity to it. I don't think it's 100% necessary. I think if you take, your serving every day, or every day you train at the very least, I think you'll be completely fine.
Yeah, it seems the general consensus across the community is you don't need to load anymore.
No. And I would also say taking it after your workout is a little bit better, because you're already in a hyperabsorptive state. and it makes it a little bit easier to absorb all that creatine that you're going to take. And then, so you don't really necessarily think of it as it's fueling the workout you just did. It's fueling tomorrow's workout.
Yep.
That's a really good way to kind of think about when you take creatine.
That's kind of how I think about carbohydrate replenishment too.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. But so creatine, most folks generally 3 to 5 grams per day.
Correct.
And then obviously this is a big one in the sports and training space. There are very good recent stuff coming out when it comes to your mental health, energy, cloudiness, brain fog, if you will. And there's also a hot take coming. Some study was just done where they studied 10 grams per day and up to 20 grams per day. I'm not there yet.
I don't think I want to be there.
Well, I'm not there yet in the book. Like, I'm going to go down that road.
Yeah.
I've had a few folks ask me, like, hey, should I up my creatine? We got 30, 40 years supporting this range of ingestion.
Just because one fancy study comes out doesn't mean just go and do it.
Yeah. One, if it's not being, you're going to pee out the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a cheaper supplement, but it's a waste of money in my mind. The bulk of the research has been done around these ranges. I notice, I don't know when we do your deal on shift work, but there is some good stuff out there on creatine and sleep deprivation, like really helping overcome.
I'm not as familiar with that, but I could understand it from the sports performance side because creatine, the phosphocreatine pathway is a highly neural kind of area.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, it's not going to be long duration that you're going to be using a lot of creatine. You'll still kind of use it, but it's going to be because you're going to use it for like faster movements, whatever. We'll get into that later or in another podcast. But when you're using the phosphocreatine pathway, it is like maximal lifts or very intense lifting or sprinting or vigorous movement. So when that happens, your nervous system activates more muscle fibers. And so basically now more muscle fibers are being used to do the tasks that you want to be able to do. So going from that route, okay, well, I'm taking creatine, really important in, nervous system action and being able to use like a lot of muscles. So that would be the only way I could really route it back to why it's important for the nervous system. I'm not as familiar with it in terms of like neural health and fatigue and all that, other than the fatigue of sports performance.
Yeah. And also with creatine, elderly people, or I shouldn't say elderly, but women in general, getting older, osteoporosis, osteopenia, fractures, falls, these things become big issues. Sarcopenia. Is creatine, I don't know the answer to this, anabolic in nature?
Yeah.
It kind of, it makes sense as a byproduct.
And is it going to help support bone density?
Well, that's hard, but you definitely want the muscle mass.
So that's the question, right? So creatine helps with training energy, ability to lift more weights. So
yes, but inadvertently, that's the answer.
Yeah. Well, I have heard people, smart people say, even as we're getting older, I still suggest creatine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So last thing on creatine when it comes to blood work.
It's better to have it than not need it. It's better to have it and not need it than not have it and probably need it. That's kind of...
I heard that same reference for condoms.
Jesus. God.
See, everybody's finding out I'm the same human with my wife's around.
Yeah. Unfortunately. I think so just to touch on it briefly, because I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people, because we do have more, like we have a master's crowd, at the gym. The reason I say it inadvertently helps creatine with aging population is for every reason I just said. It's going to be able to be able to lift a little bit more weight a little bit longer, right? So then now we're getting that more of that hypertrophic effect. If we're loading the body with weights, we're going to have an increased amount of increased bone density. So, okay, I'm able to do more weight. Now I'm able to lift more weight. And now I have an increased bone density. So I'm getting stronger. Yeah. My muscle fibers are getting more, are having some hypertrophy in them. And now my bone is getting more dense from taking creatine, which is helping me fuel activity, which is helping those other things. So it's yes, but There's steps.
You're not taking
Yeah.
creatine and improving your muscle by doing nothing.
Correct. If
'Cause
we're
that
just
goes
sitting here for the rest of
any
our life
supplement.
and then we're just taking creatine, ain't nothing going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, last two things on creatine, either one of you, but creatine and water retention.
Ooh,
I
I
hear
was gonna
this.
ask that.
Oh, I feel
good.
Bloated.
bloated, puffy.
Get over it.
And
So-
it's like temporary, right? It's
Correct.
transient.
It's
Yeah.
temporary. Once again, you'll pee it out. But it does help increase and also does make your muscles look a little bit more full.
Yep.
So there's benefit there, but people do necessarily sometimes feel like I feel bloated in my stomach, or it does help you retain water, which if you're an athlete, water retention isn't a horrible thing because now you're actually a little bit more hydrated, or there's more water available to the tissues, which once again, not the worst thing in the world.
No, not at all. I do tell folks if they're like, say they start at 5 grams per day and they're feeling a little, like bloated, puffy, I tell them cut the dose in half for a month.
It will also, your body will be accustomed to it,
Yep.
and then it will be fine.
Yep. And I don't know the answer to this one, but there's another variant of creatine monohydrate that apparently is marketed as better for women if they're feeling bloated. I don't know. It's probably, in my mind, garbage.
There are, from my knowledge, 12 different variants of creatine.
Yep.
Just take creatine monohydrate and make your life easier.
Yep. Unflavored, simple creatine monohydrate. Add it to something simple
Correct.
that you'll take daily.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
You can't taste it.
So,
No.
last thing on creatine is you've dealt with this with our fitness population. We've been back and forth on this, and I think we finally have we have some agreements here.
Are we
So-
talking about creatinine levels and kidney function?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. You guys
So-
can have fun with that one.
Well, no, but this was a question over the years with my labs.
Oh.
Also, I still have members come to me like my primary care said I need to stop taking creatine
No, they
because,
don't.
and that's what I want to explain. So, what's going on there? I mean, I know, but I want you to answer it. I can answer it, but where do people need to have concern when it comes to this specific GFR, creatinine in your blood,
Yeah.
but you're an athlete who trains to take creatine?
You don't need to stop creatine. If you do have that elevated creatinine level in your blood work, or GFR is reduced, and you work out as most people do, especially in this gym, that's very, very common. And it usually is just a sign of muscle turnover and high intensity exercise.
Which is exactly what's happening when you do CrossFit.
Right.
Or any type of
As
really
you say,
intense exercise, not
Yeah.
just
Gotcha.
CrossFit.
So,
But if that does present itself, you do have to still assess it. Do they have a history of high blood pressure? Do they have a history of diabetes? So that's where I usually would order a cystatin C, which
Yep.
is again a different metabolized byproduct excreted through the kidney, but is not affected by exercise. And if that's normal, then again, it reinforces that they probably just did high intensity exercise and have muscle turnover, and that's why their labs
yep.
are
so
as such.
those members in the gym that get their one-time annual labs from the, I gotta be kind,
From other places in town.
yeah, that don't understand necessarily a population that works out.
Shameless plug, go to Cassie for your health.
But
She gets you.
in the past, I've brought this up, and because I've had some blood work that looks like, oh, you got kidney failure.
And I would even argue in my
That's fun.
in my earlier years, we kind of had a discussion about this when I wasn't familiar. I didn't educate myself.
Well, no,
as well
you're not
on it.
educated on it in school.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think any
Yeah,
doctor
yeah.
is, because any physician out there, I'm still hearing this today.
Yeah.
I told somebody a couple weeks ago, tell your primary care to order a cystatin C and then look at the whole picture and make sure they understand.
Or they
that
can get a microalbumin. Like there's a couple of different like kidney assessment tests. That you
There's
can
only one person that said I only have one kidney left. And I was like, well, now you're stepping into an area I don't want to comment on.
get. Yeah.
So,
Do it.
You got-
Double your dose. See what happens.
Yeah.
That is, and I think that's when you start working with a nephrologist,
Right.
potentially. You
Yeah.
probably already have one if you have one kidney, and you're diving a little deeper into that whole equation. But in general, like Cassie said, but over the years, I've had blood work where it looks like I'm literally in kidney failure. Then she's still, my next labs that I got to do in 6 weeks, I need to not train.
Idiot.
I backed off. I only did chest and tries. But if you guys are athletic and training and obviously most of the people that listen to this are Double Edge members, it's important that you back off training 48 hours to get accurate
48
labs.
to 72 hours, which I find
Like,
funny.
don't do it the day after Murph.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
No.
But I find it funny because when I recommend that, most people are like have a hard time not working out for 3 days, which I love, which I think is phenomenal.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. It's pretty.
I'll take 3 days off and go freaking sit in my backyard and tan. Sounds great.
But yeah, in general, if you're doing blood work, it's better to back off the intensity and the volume. Maybe take 1 or 2 rest days.
Jesus Christ.
And do your labs.
Your wife just said take 48 to 72 hours of rest, and you're just saying back off the intensity. Maybe take a day rest off.
It's like he's a classic
God,
example of somebody who won't listen.
For instance, I take 2 days off before I do my blood work.
Yeah. Gee, smart. Thanks for listening.
How many times have you done your blood work in the last 5 years?
4.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But there was, one of the years there was like 2 or 3 times. So, and then I had like a gap in between. So you said 5 years, gave me a long range.
All right.
If that was the past 3 years, 1. But still, I take it off.
Yeah. So, to my fault, I need to be better about letting my body heal and recover.
Acceptance is the first part.
Yeah. So, I think we touched on everything. Creatine, important.
Yep. Your kidneys will be able, don't overload them. Your kidneys will be fine.
Yes. And if you have one kidney, that's outside my scope. Talk to your healthcare provider.
Yeah. Don't talk to me.
Next, what supplement do you got? You want me to just grab one here?
We can go protein powder. That's pretty simple.
Yep.
Different types of protein powder. There's whey protein.
Yep.
There's whey isolate. And then there's whey hydroisolate. And then there's casein.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, it's just all protein. The reason why you should probably take protein powder is the absorption into your body after you work out. So after you work out, you're breaking down a whole bunch of muscle tissue. And on top of that, you also need some carbs after you work out. But
you need carbs.
You do need carbs after you work out.
The anti-carb people aren't going to like me.
No,
Chase.
it's as important, if not honestly more important, to have carbs after you work out, so long as you're metabolically healthy, as having a protein powder. What I would recommend is whey protein, least quality. Whey isolate, a little bit more. Whey hydroisolate, expensive, but it is the highest quality. Where that quality means is basically the absorption rate that it goes into your body. Whey protein will be absorbed faster than if you just eat a steak. Whey isolate will be absorbed faster than just normal whey protein. And then whey hydroisolate will be faster than all of it. You basically drink it and it's just in your body.
Yes.
That is
right through the ileum.
That's an exaggeration, just so no one gets mad at me for misspeaking. It's going to be fast.
What's the importance of it being absorbed quickly?
Absorbed. So after you work out, your body's in a state of hyperabsorption. So you just did a whole bunch of damage to your body.
Gotcha.
And the way we want the absorption is we want to put 1 calories back in your body to replenish your energy, but also that protein will then go back into your muscle fibers to help start the repair process. So you're basically hyperdriving your recovery.
Gotcha.
Same goes for we can talk about this one now because I have it in there, is carbohydrate after. So when you eat carbohydrate after your workout, the sugarier, the better, typically.
What's your favorite one?
Gatorade.
Ouch. Thought you were going to go dextrose.
Well, Gatorade is essentially dextrose.
Yeah.
But I have graduated from
But it
university.
has so much other crap in it.
Hold on, everyone, don't kill Coach Chase. Gatorade makes an organic powder.
Oh.
And all it is it's dyed with, I think mine was like it's like a
like beetroot juice.
Beetroot, beetroot powder or whatever, and it's strawberry flavored, and it's made with strawberries and then just like normal cane sugar. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Right.
That's all you need.
That's fine.
Don't take the other Gatorade that has 18 different things in it. And also Gatorade has electrolytes in it. But if you take the organic powder, I do a scoop. It's about 60 grams of carbs. That's perfect for me. The reason why we want to take some carbohydrate after we work out is it increases your insulin response. That is a good thing after we work out. Insulin is an anabolic hormone. It means it can build fat, but it can also is really good at building muscle and shuttling glucose back into the muscle fibers, which helps the recovery process. So when I also say it helps build muscle, it helps kind of enhance the protein response to your body. So, but in order to get a nice insulin response, you need to have a good sugary thing right after your workout. This is for metabolically healthy people. If you're not metabolically healthy, your insulin responses are going to be freaking all over the place.
Yep.
For you, what I would recommend, have the protein powder and then maybe have a piece of fruit because there's a lot more fiber in it and it will at least be a little bit more nutritious than say you're eating a bundle of Sour Patch Kids.
Agreed.
So whey protein after you work out, isolate's better than whey, hydro isolate's better than all of that. Main thing is that it's going to be increasing your muscle synthesis. Eat some carbohydrate after you work out. If you're metabolically healthier, the sugary the better. That's going to increase your insulin response, and that's going to help increase your anabolism for the muscle tissue, as well as also shuttling that glucose back into the muscle fiber to be turned into glycogen. That all in all will help increase your overall recovery.
Yes.
The other one I want to talk about was casein. Typically, people have casein at night.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that is casein is a slow release protein. So once again, we're trying to basically whenever we're working with sports performance, we're attacking the recovery process. Very rarely are we talking about stuff that's like in the middle of the workout, which you could take Gatorade or some kind of carbohydrate during the workout because that's just more glucose that's going in your body. And then that's good for, keeping up with whatever workout you're doing. Chances are, if you're just doing CrossFit's group class, you don't really need to have carbohydrate in it. But for instance, I'll use a little Ryan Perry. If she's doing double days and each training session is 90 minutes to 2 hours, yeah, me and her have had this conversation multiple times. You are no ifs, ands, or buts. There's carbohydrate inside of that drink.
Yep.
No matter what. And that has to be done before you leave or before the training session's done.
And people need to understand when it comes to the carbs, like what Chase said, there's a big difference in training volume from doing 1 hour group class, which in theory, most days you're getting 20 to 30 minutes, maybe tops of high intensity training.
And you don't
versus 3 hours.
Correct.
And so I was going to get in the carb drink, but you don't need to be slamming carbohydrate drinks for most of our training, as long as you have a healthy, well-rounded diet.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think, and there's a couple trains of thoughts out there, that as long as you're eating carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, and your macros consistently, over a 24-hour period, your body's replenishing. I'm still in the camp with you that my biggest caloric intake and carbohydrate intake is post-training.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you.
So I'm still on that side of the equation. Dr. Andy Galpin, we both think he's a very smart man. He's for general health camp of as long as you're hitting your macros in a 24-hour cycle, you're replenishing, rebuilding, and there's always fuel on board. So take that for what you will. But when you get to sports performance and high volume training, it's a whole nother animal.
I would also say that if you're interested in cutting weight and you don't have a lot of carbs to work with during your day, have them after you work out or around your workouts. So that way your workouts don't suffer.
Yep.
What's the window? Like 30 minutes?
30 minutes to an hour. I always like to think that the sooner for carbohydrates, 30 minutes to an hour after you work out. Protein, the more protein you have or like closer to your workout, you can kind of push off your protein shake later because the thought is that you're still digesting the protein that you still had.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had, protein, like for instance, I had yogurt before I came to the gym today. Granted, it took me an hour to get to the gym today because of stupid traffic. So if I wanted to, I guess I could push my protein shake out a little bit further, but just to be safe, it's fine. I can chug water or fluids pretty damn easily. So I just have it right after I work out.
Yep.
Casein, same deal that I wanted just to touch on it. Very, very simple. Casein is one of those where if you are having a hard time getting your protein in, okay, maybe look at a casein supplement, but in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not 100% necessary. The reason for that is typically people have it at night and it's a slow absorbing protein. So the thought is that you get this nice slow drip of protein as you are sleeping, which is where you do all of your massive recovering. But if you're having during the day enough protein, you're going to be digesting protein at night anyway. So people who love casein, okay, great. You can have casein. I used to take it, but if you're getting enough protein during your day, then I don't think there's really a need to take casein after.
Totally agree. New research I've heard and looked into lightly, as long as you're getting the quantity of protein you need for your body, once you, like, there's going to be no massive deviation if you're whey versus casein. Yeah. It comes down to a preference. Like, if your stomach enjoys being full and you like that and you like casein, I personally don't. So I don't take it for that. It's a preference thing.
I typically recommend a casein for people who are going to be on a cut and a very intense cut, because you can make a casein pudding, because it is a very thick powder, and you can mix it with a little bit of milk and you have a dense pudding, and it leads to a very, very big feelings of satiety.
Yep.
So for those people, okay, great. But
it's a good trick.
This one, going through my list, multivitamin, I typically recommend for athletes. Sometimes we eat so much food that we don't really want to have a giant salad, or we don't want to have like a whole bunch of fruit.
How dare you? Just kidding.
I have been so good, Cassie.
Just kidding.
But it can be very challenging to get all of that food in. And especially with the foods that are higher in fiber. Once again, you do need your fiber. But I do recommend just some kind of multivitamin in the morning. Once again, third-party tested, great stuff, just to make sure you're getting everything in. For the most part, you pee out anything that you don't need, and the chances of toxicity aren't really going to be as extreme, so long as you're getting a nice multivitamin.
Yep. I look at a multivitamin as insurance. Just covering my bases.
That's a great way to look at it.
I don't, obviously, not great on my vegetables. I also not great on getting the rainbow of variety, which you need for micronutrients. Right?
I am.
Correct.
No name. One blood work, and you're all that now.
I'm just saying, I'm coming, boy.
But also, our soil's depleted.
Yeah, there is a little bit with that too. Yeah.
Like, just our harvests aren't as nutrient dense as they used to be.
What does that say? Oh, sorry.
I can't read your own handwriting.
No, God.
So I look at it as it's insurance. I mean, you're looking at $3 to $4 per day for a quality one, roughly. No, that's expensive. So you're looking about $80 a month.
Yeah, that most.
$2 a day.
It's going to be up there,
but in general, like, I like First Form's Microfactor. I use the men's packs from Pure Encapsulations, and then or AG1.
Maybe not Flintstones.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
You still get those, huh?
That's what I used to take that when I was a kid.
I think a lot of people did. I mean, most kids.
And they were probably different back then. There's a strong possibility that they were.
They probably were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for grown-ups in general, when it comes to multivitamins, it needs to be in a capsule.
Yeah.
A hard pill. I've talked to people who have literally crapped it out. Like, it's not breaking down. So like the one a day kind of stuff, that's just like a hard pill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't break down in the stomach.
Is that corn? Oh, no, it's not corn.
It's my multivitamin.
It's my multivitamin. Oh, that's unfortunate.
So it needs to break down quickly in your stomach to get into your small intestine so that it's absorbing.
Ooh, and on that note, I would just say, as far as supplementation across the board, be very cautious with gummies, because you can get an extraordinary amount of excess sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar and other additives.
Both weed gummies and also.
Yes.
Yep.
Careful. That's not a supplement.
Yeah,
nope. That's not.
So yeah, I'm all for multivitamin. I generally tell everybody multivitamin.
I would say the next one I want to talk about was electrolytes.
Yep.
If you are working out, you need electrolytes. That's it. It's going to help you. It helps you with the neural function.
Please say what the electrolytes
are. Sodium, potassium, magnesium.
Yep.
Big ones there being sodium and potassium, and the bigger one being sodium. Basically what it does is helps you retain water. That water is really, really important for making sure that you have proper blood volume. Blood volume is very important for when you work out. Proper blood volume, in fact, if you're it helps you keep you hydrated. If your blood volume is diminished, your VO2 max actually diminishes as well, because you're not able to shuttle the amount of nutrients, so to speak, to all your working muscles adequately. VO2 max is essentially your fitness. Mm-hmm. Your fitness declines for every millimeter of, or not millimeter, that doesn't make sense, for every liter or so of water that you're deficient in. So you do not want that. You do not want to mess with your hydration. You can also die. Very extreme consequences. We don't live in Alabama, and then we don't work out in the middle of summer. But
3 days without water, you're dead.
yeah, but we want to make sure that we are getting our electrolytes in. So for instance, Element is fantastic. Gatorade has electrolytes in them. Whole bunch of, there's Liquid IV, there's Noon, there's whatever. There's a whole bunch of electrolytes. Whatever you prefer, I prefer the Elements. I would recommend you take it. The sweatier you are, the more electrolytes you need. The less sweaty you are, the less you need. You can get really into it and see you can
lick your skin.
You can lick your skin. Some of us are naturally a higher saltier sweater. Some of us are naturally just a more water soluble or water sweater. I'm a very salty sweater. A good way you can always know this is whenever I wear a hat, and it's a workout hat, there's a white line all around my head. If you wear hats when you work out and they don't have like that white line or whatever, you're probably less of a salty sweater.
You're going to see my salty sweat on the RTO.
Jesus.
You sweat a lot.
You do sweat a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a sweaty human.
Yeah. And then some people are naturally sweaty, which you can make the argument if you're naturally a heavier sweater, your body's more efficient at cooling itself down. If you're dehydrated, going into sweat, you're not going to be able to efficiently cool yourself down, and that is very dangerous, especially once it gets hotter and once we get a lot drier outside. You need to be drinking water, and you need to make sure that you're getting your electrolytes in. So electrolytes to help with your general, making sure you're getting as much fitness into a workout as possible, so making you feel really good when you're working out, as well as just general safety and hydration, of course.
So, I want you to chime in on this too when it comes to blood pressure, sodium.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is this massive, it's like North and South Korea when it comes to sodium and blood pressure. And
I am still going to argue that sodium in excess can raise your blood pressure, of course. Like that.
Yes.
And to what Chase alluded to, it's acutely for most part, but you need to know your blood pressure.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this stuff goes, Cassie, we can speak to this also, is for sodium, it's a sodium load. So basically how quickly can your body take in sodium and then just disperse of it. And typically if you're not as metabolically healthy, that sodium load lasts a lot longer, which means you have a higher blood pressure for longer. If you're a healthier person, your sodium load is a lot shorter. So you can get that sodium in, let it do whatever it needs to do, and then it goes out. So that's where it's like, yes, everyone, we need electrolytes, we need sodium, but if you are not metabolically healthy, you have a high blood pressure. We need to be cognizant of how much sodium that you are taking in.
Yeah. Yep. And like you said, it's acutely post-exercise. You're trying to replenish that.
Yes.
You shouldn't be drinking electrolytes just throughout the day, all day, because it tastes good kind of thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then one other caveat on this is if you are eating a very low processed food, you're eating an unprocessed food diet, and you're not actively adding sodium to your meals, you could end up very sodium deficient. I've had folks go and
that's rare though. That is rare.
Folks that don't like salt in the gym that go and start cleaning up their diet, plod that, start making all their food, but they don't add salt in.
Okay.
So they're not getting any sodium anywhere now.
Yeah.
So a couple of those who I've put on said, like, start taking Elements if you don't want to add salt to your food. Well, they don't like salt to begin with. So, but they did start drinking Elements and they felt dramatically better. So that's something to be mindful of if you eat a very clean diet, and then being mindful of, I think it's still an area. I have to be very intentional with my blood pressure. Apparently it's something that's still I'm battling.
Sucker.
Yep. But real quick, it's come up a couple times. Let's just recap. Can you explain what metabolic health is?
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially metabolic syndrome is typically a combination of elevated sugar, elevated cholesterol, then elevated blood pressure. So that's like the trifecta of having metabolic disease as the first and forefront.
Is elevated insulin's in there too? And
insulin resistance.
And then high fasting blood sugar, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So having poor cellular mitochondrial function is kind of the premise on that. And you just want to make sure those three realms are in check to optimize your health.
So how do you find out if these things are in check?
You get blood work.
Oh,
And you get your vitals.
Yeah, that thing I keep telling everybody to do at least once a year. So you get blood work, you see your primary care, get a physical. And this is going to help get baseline kind of where you're at. And I bring this up. There's people that are normal body composition that I've seen with metabolically unhealthy labs.
All the time.
Skinny fat.
Very, very true.
Skinny fat.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a little bit of adipose tissue or a lot of adipose tissue. I've also seen people with excessive adipose tissue that have pretty good labs. So it's like,
Yeah.
F off.
Uh-huh.
So based
there's
on your
lots of
appearance or how you perceive yourself, this doesn't mean the internals are firing.
I perceive myself as Adonis.
Well, a lot of folks like, I feel fine. But a lot of these things to determine if you're metabolically healthy, it's going to help drive, one, your training, but also your nutrition, your supplementation. You can be much more intentional down these things, knowing where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, and there can be very specific supplements for those three things as well. But again, that's like another realm of doing things with intention.
Yeah, so back to supplementing intentionally, you should do a minimum an annual physical, get comprehensive labs, and know where your body is at on the inside before you start ingesting a lot of this stuff.
Sometimes you don't know you're a train wreck until someone tells you you're a train wreck.
Yeah, and the objective data says you're
a train wreck.
Yeah.
I thought I was fine. And then
I wouldn't say you're a train
I
wreck,
wasn't a
bro.
train wreck,
Come
but
on.
I thought I was like completely fine. And then I was like, oh shit, I can do better.
But I think that's the hard part, right? Because you feel fine.
Yeah, but you didn't know how much better you could feel.
Well, but
And then,
there's no symptoms to high cholesterol until you kill over,
Yeah, well, yeah.
right? There's
or you're
no.
having chest pain while
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah. Chase hasn't gotten up for
Murph.
3 days. I don't know what's
Right.
going on with him. He's
Right.
really tired.
The interesting one is like minor levels of climbing insulin resistance.
Yeah.
Like it's starting at such a low deal in your life health span that I think the earlier that you can get, and I bring this up for myself because I'm constantly like, why the hell is my blood sugar near 100 in the morning? But then at the end of the day, it's fasted, but then my fasting insulin was 2.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 2 because my pancreas doesn't work?
I don't think.
But I think it does work because I've watched it on my blood glucose. I'll eat
But
something
you
high in
have been in a
carbohydrates.
carb deficit, and you finally have corrected that more recently.
Well,
right?
traditionally, up until the last 6 months, I was a lower carb mindset individual.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was in the more anti-inflammatory, ketogenic, paleo-ish side of things.
Man, you were still kicking my ass like that? Oh, it's so upsetting.
Now, because I've increased carbs, I cut my calories through fat. I switched it around. And then training got a lot better, recovery got a lot better, sleep got a lot better, everything got a lot better, and I was still in a caloric deficit, and then 8 pounds of fat fell off.
Can you say that one more time
For the people in the back.
for the people everywhere?
Yeah.
One more, like from the start with the carbs.
So I kept calories the same.
Perfect.
I cut the calories from fat and increased calories on carbohydrate.
Beautiful.
With that, my training got better, my recovery got better, my sleep got better. I missed one. Well, those are the 3 big
You got
ones.
leaner.
Well, yeah, with that, then fat started falling off.
There we go.
Yeah.
So now for everyone, if you didn't get that for the second time, rewind it about a minute or so and listen to that one more time.
And I like going into what I wanted to do with that calorie cut after my birthday, where I hadn't seen the needle move in almost a year. I was at 14% body fat for almost a year. And I was like, I'm eating really healthy. But I did the math. I was like, a lot of fat. It's like, well, what I'm doing isn't getting me to the goal that I wanted. And if what you're doing isn't getting you to the goal you wanted and you've done it for a period of time, you probably need to change something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I went, okay, we're cutting fat and increasing carbs, and we're going to try this for 3 months. And then it's like working. So I consider myself overall to be a metabolically pretty healthy individual.
Yeah.
And it worked. And I feel tremendously better.
Thank you.
Yeah, because from reference point, I'm 200 pounds and I was eating 100, 150 grams of carbohydrates a day. Now I'm 300, 350.
Sweet Jesus.
So
That's incredible that you were able to go that low for that long. That would have been rough.
I attribute it back to getting sidetracked, but I attribute it back to wrestling days. I trained hard, starved.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
So I think I'm just like, I can lean more towards a fat adapted, if you will, kind of training. But I think the biggest thing that helped me was the recovery. Like I was recovering so much better into the next day.
Well, it goes back into like with when we were talking about dextrose after you work out or carb after you work out, when you're recovering, what you're trying to do is you're trying to tap out, you're trying to refill the gas tank every night when you're recovering. So with carbs, your body stores carbs in your liver and then also stores carbs in your muscle tissues. If we're not doing that, then we're not getting that same kind of recovery in our muscle, and we're not having that same kind of zip or energy the next day for when we train. So whenever I ask people like, hey, how do you feel? Like, oh, I don't feel like I have like that, like sharpness today or that speed today. Yeah. Well, how many carbs are you eating? Like, oh, 50. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what do you mean 50?
Like in a snack?
Yeah. You mean like you had 50 on your way here? And it's like, and I even notice it for myself when if I'm not having enough carbs, then I don't have my zing today.
Yep.
And it's crazy with how much better you sleep, you feel once you have enough carbs. And this is kind of going off into like a more macronutrient dietary talk, but when we eat enough carbohydrates, it protects your muscle from being degraded, and then it also helps decrease the amount of cortisol that you are like having in your body at a given time. So we're not having that kind of breakdown, which means you can actually focus on your body recovering for once and growing for once, which is a good thing.
Yeah. So another caveat to this was, so before I increased fiber, that went up with carbohydrate increase.
Where are you at?
Fiber-wise, rough estimate, 35, 40 grams.
Cute.
And I know. It's not to your numbers. You have stellar numbers right now.
I do. 60 grams, baby.
Yeah, big poop.
Ooh, nice.
Freaking massive. Oh my, I'm proud of myself every morning. I start my morning off proud of myself.
That's a good place to be.
That's a good place to be. Because that thing is freaking touching my bum out of the toilet.
Oh my God. So we can get into this separate podcast, but looking at your poop every day is important.
I would agree with you.
So
we gotta stay on track with supplements.
But real quick with carbohydrates, I lost it with your poop. Oh, my glucose. So when I was low carb, doing a lot of Claire stuff, anti-inflammatory oriented stuff, low carb, training high intensity. This is my understanding. I could be totally wrong, but training high intensity, low carb diet, your muscles and body's craving carbs. Your liver is trying to crank it out. But your muscles have stopped being insensitive to carbohydrate. And that's a problem, especially for high intensity training. So weightlifting, CrossFit, things that are high intensity. If you're doing slogging or walking, very low intensity, it's probably not going to be as dramatic. But what I noticed hugely being low carb, and I've done this experiment twice, I absolutely fall apart doing the kind of training I love to do. And it sucks.
Yes to everything you just said.
Yeah. So, and I've personally done this experiment for a block of time, not just a day, 3 months plus. And interesting, I was making myself potentially less insulin sensitive in that process because...
That's basically what you just described, yeah, when people have insulin resistance.
Yep. So I was, through doing quote-unquote healthy things, I was in turn screwing myself up. And this is where I come back to that a healthy whole food diet with the right amount of protein, carbs, protein, fats, and carbs to support training and your lifestyle is vital.
It's got to be well-rounded.
Well-rounded, balanced out. I would say the more sedentary can function on a little lower carb. The more active needs higher carb. And that is where you play with your calorie deficit. Protein's consistent typically across the board from me for everybody.
Yes.
So yeah, so with that, we can go right into real quick carbohydrate supplementation. I'm mixed on this one. I think they're good. I just don't use them every day.
Organic Gatorade powder is bomb.
Yeah, Ignition is the
Ignition's great.
We carry that one. I find that to be a good one.
Tailwind is it's a running company, but they have a whole bunch of flavors and they got great ingredients. They're third party tested for my awareness. They're pretty damn good, and they come in sticks, and it's like 50 grams per stick, which is typically great.
Yep.
Ignition's great. Organic Gatorade is great. there's a same kind of goes. If you can just look up dextrose powder or carb powder for a workout and just make sure it has that third party tested on it. And then if you're fine, that's great.
Is 50 grams your recommendation?
Oh, so that's actually a really good, that's a great question. For carbohydrate consumption when we're working out, it depends on the duration and it depends on the intensity.
Oh, okay.
Right? If you're on a 2-hour walk, you're probably fine. You can have like a little bit. If you're on a 2-hour hike, now we're different. It's dependent on your weight. Typically, from my knowledge, it's about like half your body weight in grams for like moderate intensity. So, for instance,
body weight in kilograms or pounds?
Yeah, sorry, body weight in kilograms. My bad. Yeah. Body weight in kilograms. So I'm about 100 I'm actually exactly 100 kilos. So I'm 100 kilos, 50 grams of carbs per hour. Very, very simple math. How you find your body weight in kilograms? Get your body weight in pounds divided by 2.2. Ask Faye. Yeah. ask the local funny talking person for how you do it.
She's amazing.
She is amazing. That's gonna be a fun podcast. But once we get more intense, now it gets to go up a little bit. So now for higher intensity workouts, you can go all the way up to 1 gram per kilogram per hour. Mm-hmm. So that'd be 100 grams per hour for me. And that's for if we're crushing it, right? But for most of us doing group class, you're probably fine. I think ignition is like 40 grams per scoop. That's fine.
And I will tell you, if you go to straight ignition for 40 grams, don't start at a full scoop. Depending on your size, you might have an emergency run to the bathroom.
It's super sweet. It's so sweet.
Well, and cause gastrointestinal issues. Like if you're not used to that, like training your body for carbohydrate absorption, especially in athletic endeavors, is important. Because to Chase's point, I agree with this calculation 100%. I'm roughly 1 gram per minute of intense exercise.
Yeah, that's great too.
And
that's great too.
If you look at the bulk of a group class workout, the bulk of it most days is 20 to 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I'm roughly, if you get 20 to 30 grams of carbohydrate, I think you're in a good spot for most of our general deals.
Correct.
As far as a training carbohydrate intake, I've personally I used to take ignition every single day. More or less us trying to just be more whole foodies. I've resorted now, my main carbohydrates is oatmeal, blueberries, and honey. It's my main source. Ignition has minerals and other things in it that are good. But I still use ignition if I'm going to have a high volume training day or if there's the potential that a 7-year-old is going to make me work out again.
That's
like
fair.
Last night.
So I will supplement a scoop of ignition to get the carbohydrate up more. Another caveat when it comes to these fast absorbed carbohydrates is you need to watch out for hypoglycemia, where your blood glucose drops too low. Hypo.
Hypo is low.
So
hyper is high.
Here's what happens in this scenario. You cram a big dose of dextrose. You start training. Your muscles calling for glucose. Your pancreas also kicks in because it just got a big shot to the blood. And I've witnessed this on myself. So take ignition, big scoop, 20 minutes before doing MRF. All right, so start out pretty high intensity, sustain for a while. I've watched my blood glucose ramp up to close to 200, then drop down to 50 in a 15-minute window.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and that's because Dr. Andy Galpin explained it way better, but your muscles are calling, like, I need glucose, this high intensity, long duration, like I need it. And then your pancreas is like, wait, our blood glucose is super high right now. It's not registering. The muscles are taking this up just yet, and it kicks out insulin at the same time. So boom, you get a big crash. And I've bonked in workouts because of that.
Sorry, go ahead.
So to mitigate that, one, I do eat oatmeal and fruit a couple hours before training, oftentimes just for full saturation. And then if it is a long workout like MRF, I'm going to be sipping carbohydrate through the workout versus a big bolus pre-workout like I used to do. So I no longer big bolus it. If I'm going to bolus, which is a big intake at once.
You got a big bolus.
Thanks, pal.
You're welcome.
I'm going to do that post-workout. Like if I was short on carbs and the workout was way harder than I planned, right after the workout, it's protein powder, scoop of ignition, just to get in there quick.
Because now we're taking advantage of your pancreas doing what it's supposed to do.
Exactly.
I would always recommend a little bit more fiber before you work out.
Yeah.
Don't have a bunch because then you're going to be like don't have a giant salad before you work out. I've done that before when I was in 8th grade at a track meet and I threw up everywhere. Not a track meet, cross country meet. Sorry. But typically sip carbohydrate that's called intra carbohydrate.
Yep.
It's great. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And then you can either just finish off the rest of it as once you're done working out, or if you want to have a little bit more because it was a really hard workout, then you can have a little bit more after that.
Yep. Exactly. Next one that I got on here, we could start cranking through these pretty quick actually. Caffeine. It is my favorite pre-workout in its simplest form.
Yeah.
Coffee.
So it essentially just blocks your adenosine receptors. So as we accumulate fatigue through the body, a lot of adenosine accumulates. We have our adenosine receptors that adenosine attaches to. That makes us feel sleepy. Caffeine blocks that, so that way we can feel more alert and active. Some people are caffeine sensitive, like myself, and some people are not.
Myself.
Correct. So I typically recommend if you're going to work out in the morning, great, have caffeine, have coffee, right? Less chemically, the better.
I'm very anti pre-workout.
Yeah, there are some pre-workouts that are relatively clean. Transparent Labs is once again a great one. But if you're caffeine sensitive and you come to my evening classes, so to speak, I would typically advise against you from having, because usually a scoop of pre-workout is like 250 milligrams of caffeine, and that's a lot, especially if you're going to go to sleep, attempt to go to sleep in the next 5 or 6 hours. I would typically maybe take a half scoop. So now we're at least at 125, still kind of a bit, but it's better. We can kind of work through it.
And understand you're not going to burn this caffeine off.
Correct. It's going to stay in your body.
Yep.
And then maybe you can get the caffeine crash right before you go to bed. That'd be cool, but it's not going to be probably that pretty, so to speak.
Can't remember. Do you remember the half-life of caffeine? It's 24 or 72 hours.
It's dependent on the person and the sensitivity.
It is dependent on the person, but basically if you caffeinate every single day at a certain point, you're just going to be constantly saturated, especially if you're sensitive.
And I typically recommend that if you're cut off all caffeine like 6 to 8 hours before you go to bed.
Yep. I'm breaking the rules. Typically, I don't have any caffeine past noon, but here I am sipping coffee.
Yeah, I have a little bit too.
So caffeine is my favorite pre-workout, if you will.
It is effective though.
Yep.
So in terms of workout performance, it is effective.
Yep.
It is very effective at decreasing those levels of fatigue, increasing your alertness, which people will use them for if I really want to crush a workout or want to test or something. Like we have our tests coming up soon. If you want to have a little bit of a bump before you go work out, then I would recommend it. Just be aware of the issues possibly later.
Mm-hmm.
An effective dose, 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of caffeine. Typical cup of coffee is around 80.
Yeah,
I believe.
I always drink I always have espresso, which is a little bit more. But yeah, you could have a cup of coffee. It doesn't take a bunch.
No, and a cup is 8 ounces. Just a friendly reminder, a cup isn't your 36-ounce Nalgene.
Correct.
A cup is 8 ounces.
And it doesn't take a lot of caffeine just to feel a little bit better. So you don't need 250 milligrams.
Yeah.
You can have a 8-ounce cup of coffee and feel the effects like, okay, I do feel a little more alert right now. And that's enough.
Even if it's placebo.
Correct.
So caffeine, I'm going to lead into real quick. Pre-workout. There's one ingredient I look for in pre-workouts. I do take it by itself.
Beta-alanine.
Which is beta-alanine. But in general...
Gives you a third lung. Gosh dang it, Matt Frazier. God, why'd you have to say that?
Yeah, he went hard on the Rogan podcast for that one.
But go ahead.
Just in general, yes, I have pre-workouts available because you know what? I tell everybody that asks me, should I take a pre-workout? And I'm like, no. Use coffee. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to buy one anyway, you might as well buy it for me. So at least I make money off of you burning yourself out. I'm very honest and upfront about it. Like, I don't like stimulating pre-workouts. And if that's something you feel the need to take every single day, you can chime in on this one. But I think the term adrenal fatigue is like a catchphrase kind of deal. But if there were something that's going to lead to that, it's going to be overtraining and overconsumption of caffeinated like energy drinks and pre-workouts and all that garbage category. So There is a pre-workout I use from Transparent Labs. It's a stim-free, and I take that because they stopped producing beta-alanine by itself. I know beta-alanine is not a pre-workout per se, but the tingles make me happy, and I do take it every single day. I take beta-alanine.
Beta-alanine, all it does, guys, is just so you're aware, is it helps basically buffer the hydrogen ions within your body. So there's no such thing as lactic acid. That is a misnomer. Hopefully that isn't. And also, your soreness is also not lactic acid.
Nope.
Just those two things right off the bat. There is lactate in their body, which
your body can use as energy.
And it's a fuel source for your body, but it's also a byproduct of, you working out.
Apparently, if you've had a really, really hard workout and you're not hungry for a while afterwards, it's because you created so much lactate that your body's using as energy.
I didn't know that, but I could see that.
Yeah.
When typically that burning sensation you feel when you work out is the increased level of hydrogen ions in your body, making your body more acidic. That acidity makes it feel burny. Beta-alanine, as well as sodium bicarbonate, which I do have on my list, helps buffer those hydrogen ions and makes you get to more of like a basic level.
Explain real quick what sodium bicarbonate in its simplest form is so people know.
Baking soda.
Baking soda.
Problem with baking soda consumption is gastrointestinal distress because you have a very acidic stomach on purpose. And we want to be careful with acidity levels in our stomach. If we make it more basic, you're going to have what's the word? You're going to have not improved, impeded stomach utilization. So be careful with that. Start very small. Sodium bicarbonate comes in a lotion that you can put on you. If you want to lather up before we do Fran, you're more than welcome to. That's not my style.
I have taken baking soda and stirred it with water.
Does beta-alanine by itself not decrease or change the pH of your stomach when you take it?
So I take it I do notice it helping me, especially with like the franny kind of, the 4-minute workout yesterday. I do notice it, and that I've taken it for a long time now, so I don't know if I notice it with acutely, if you will. But
it's also an amino acid, so it does get degraded a little bit in your stomach, but it doesn't cause that kind of gastrointestinal distress. No. You're able to kind of pass it through into your small intestine a little bit easier.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So basically it comes down to one or the other. For me, I like beta-alanine. I like the tingles. And apparently if you're getting that, you can cut the dose down if you don't like it.
Some people love it. I hate it.
I love it. And I take 5 grams per day. It's not a Monday through Sunday for me. It's a Monday through Friday supplement. I take it in with my element every pre-workout, if you will. That is, if I had to describe a pre-workout, that's my pre-workout.
Since we are on amino acids, because we talked about caffeine, which is a part of the amino acid complex, or has a whole bunch of amino acids in it. And then we have beta-alanine. Let's talk about branched chain amino acids, glutamine, essential amino acids, HMB. BCAAs, the typical recommendation is that if you are not getting enough protein, then BCAAs have a very good anabolic effect with your muscle synthesis. The reason for that is when your muscle synthesis goes through the mTOR pathway, the mTOR pathway without getting super sciencey is basically just the pathway that your body uses to increase muscle size and recovery as well. So if you're getting enough protein, likely you don't need the BCAAs. There is some research that BCAAs could be helpful for not necessarily like the protein synthesis part, but help with a little bit of muscle soreness. So you could take it for that. I take BCAAs just because I'm weird and I was probably doing nothing at all, but it's just one thing I'd rather have and not need than need and not have.
We've already discussed that reference.
Yep. And so I would typically recommend it for people who don't get enough protein in or like somehow skimping on their protein, then it's powerful for you guys. Same with the essential amino acids.
So essential amino acids, you're not going to get, your body can't make them.
Correct.
So you have to ingest essential amino acids from the outside in. Branch chain, there's a handful of them all, but your body will create the amino acids it needs. But to Chase's point, if you're getting enough protein, it's like swimming in a pool and pouring a cup of water on your head.
Correct. But there is that possibility for improved muscle soreness.
They're cheap.
They're cheap. They taste good.
And it's insurance. I do suggest them for people that are in a heavy caloric cut.
Yes, yes,
Yep.
100%.
So I've been smashing them lately the last 6 months.
Why are you cutting more?
I'm not. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done. I hit my goal.
All right.
I'm saying this from my birthday till May 1st weigh-in.
Ah, I see.
I was using BCAAs way more than I normally do.
Yeah.
And vegetarians, I think, should take them.
And another thing it does is, it helps increase muscle synthesis. It also helps decrease protein degradation.
And if I tell you that you need to be eating at 200 pounds ideal body weight, you need to be getting 200 grams of protein in, and you look at me with like that look, like, oh my God, how am I going to eat that much? I suggest them to help you as you build up your capacity to ingest enough protein.
Yep.
So
HMB is a newer one, and it's basically a derivative. So BCAAs come in and then signal the mTOR pathway to come in. HMB is a later part in the mTOR pathway. That's the simplest thing I can say.
we'll do mTOR later in a different episode, but it's
Yeah.
interesting. I think it's important for people to understand it. So nitrates, blood pressure, performance, nitric oxide.
So citrulline, beetroot are the most common ones there. And then all they do is just increase the nitrox production in your blood, which helps increase blood flow throughout the body, which is good for when we work out. They are great. They do work.
It's good for when we work out. Do you use this in medicine with any sort of...
For hypertension?
Yeah, to try.
No, because my understanding it's short,
Yep.
right? So it's not going to give
It's
you like a
acute.
substantial benefit. I have had people specifically use beetroot juice in an attempt to try to manage their blood pressure. This is just on my small cohort of patients. I haven't seen it clinically
Me.
maintain low blood pressure
Yeah.
to a significant degree. Yeah, you have to watch for hypotension too if you're going to use it acutely. Just
Derek turns purple from drinking too many beetroot juices.
I haven't bought it yet just because I bought some nitric oxide, which is the main ingredient is arginine, which I just listened to this guy explain how that's the last one he uses. Dr. Andy Galvin, he's like, it's the one I don't like. It's the one I like the least. So he's a big fan of beetroot juice.
Beetroot juice is great. Citrulline is great. Arginine is all the same stuff. It's going to just increase your blood flow through your body.
I will say during yesterday's workout, the pump for that 4 minutes of snatching was...
It does also increase transient hypertrophy, which is basically the pumping feel that you get after you do a whole bunch of reps with the weighted movement.
Yep.
And slowly,
Some of us like it.
and then it goes away. So
Yep.
not useless, but somewhat useless.
Last amino acid I think that I want to harp on is L-carnitine.
Oh, okay.
Yes or no for weight loss?
No.
No.
All weight loss supplements are garbage, in my opinion.
Yes. The only way to lose weight is to be in a calorie deficit and correct insulin resistance.
Correct.
You agree?
there's other things.
Well, yeah, there's Ozempic, of course.
No. I mean, there's other systemic issues that could be plaguing somebody in their inability to lose weight. Not just those things.
Yeah.
Like what if they have hypothyroidism? Or we were talking about gastrointestinal and microbiome stuff. And so it's a bit more complex than that.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be to figure out maybe the why if you're putting in the hard work, have the foundations, right? As far as, like you said, eating the correct amount of calories, working out, putting in the effort of exercise, sleeping well, then what are maybe some other things going on that could be counteracting
100%.
that?
I do have a couple clients that they do put in the work. They are at a calorie deficit and they track everything religiously, and we're still not moving the needle the way I think it should be moved. And that's where I think there needs to be a high level
Correct. That's
looking
where
into the blood and various other things. And then I also have clients that tell me that they're cutting calories and they're cutting food, and then you find out how much olive oil they put on their salad, and you're like, well, get rid of that. Oh shit, weight starts falling off. So I was that guy too with nuts. I was eating a ton of cashews. That was another issue. So my recent weight loss. But L-carnitine is marketed as a weight loss supplement that if your carnitine is up in your blood, allegedly it's going to help you with oxidized fat.
Correct.
Lipolysis.
It helps shuttle fat for utilization better, in theory.
So it needs to be in place for you to utilize fat. But there's not one single study that shows that increasing it above, and your body makes this one, that increasing above physiological levels, that it increases lipolysis.
Correct.
Not one single study. So I'm saying L-carnitine for weight loss is bullshit. That's why I stopped selling it.
That CLA,
Like
pretty much
4 years ago.
Pretty much all weight loss drugs
Are garbage.
all weight loss supplements. Let me rephrase that. All weight loss supplements are not going to do what they're supposed to do.
No.
They pretty much attack one of 4 different ways. They either block the absorption of a macronutrient. They either increase your basal metabolic rate through stimulation. They somehow modify your hormone expression, which those ones I'd be a little bit more concerned about. Or they increase your fat oxidation, or any carbohydrate utilization. So that's typically the way that supplement companies use. The problem is with supplement marketing, if that molecule does that in mice in the body, in rats, in a petri dish, they're allowed to market it as, hey, it burns fat. Even if they've never done it in a human study.
Just be careful. They'll put on the label that it may.
Correct. So
The word may is probably front loaded on that statement, so they get away with it legally.
So I would never recommend a weight loss supplement to anyone.
Yep.
Ever.
I've taken a lot of people off L-carnitine.
Conjugated linoleic acid is also another one of those.
Yes, it is. L-glutamine, interesting some things on this one that I have, but
I can only really. L-glutamine is in a lot of different areas. There might be barrier places for it in like immune function. It is an essential amino acid, but we typically get enough of it. However, there's might be some kind of increased dosage that you get a little bit more effects. From a sports performance point of view, it inhibits basically the pathway that causes protein degradation. So I would recommend it to athletes. I would also recommend it to maybe elderly people, so that kind of maybe offset sarcopenia. It's a lot of supplements fall into top tier, which means they definitely work. You take them. Mid tier, which is like they might work, they might not, can't hurt, might help. And then low tier, which would be like weight loss supplements, which like they definitely don't work. Glutamine for me right now is like mid tier.
Interesting. I don't know if you've read about this with all the gut health stuff, but glutamine feeding butyrate breaks down to butyrate. It's the main.
It breaks it down?
No, it's something to do with butyrate in your microbiome and giving it fuel.
Yeah.
Like you're giving your microbiome.
But that would technically be good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Butyrate is a short chain fatty acid for everyone. And short chain fatty acids are good because they help increase like general health.
They're like your energy for your gastrointestinal lumen.
Correct. They're great for you.
Yeah.
But you can also get those from eating. You also get short chain fatty acids from eating a lot of fiber.
Yeah, because they're a byproduct of your microbiome.
Correct.
Right.
How many people do you think are listening to this and didn't realize that I was kind of smart?
You're very smart. I feel like I'm learning so much on this.
Because I think people just
we get to chat about this often.
I feel like a lot of people just realize like, oh, Coach Chase is
good looking.
Yeah, he's just fancy. But I'm hoping that some people realize like, oh man, he actually did go to grad school.
No, it happened last week. It just flipped over. You went
I was stupid up until last Wednesday.
It didn't matter until.
Do you want to get into our sups that we take?
Yeah, real quick. Just one last thing on glutamine. Rhonda Patrick and Dr. Annie Galpin just did a podcast on her podcast with supplements. It was super interesting. It's going to be very anecdotal, but she noticed a massive increase in her... she doesn't get sick as much.
Immune function.
Jesus. Her immune function with her and her son when she increased glutamine intake, and it could be that pathway. Again, if you take glutamine, gastrointestinal issues might be an issue, but there's not a huge downside to if you try glutamine out.
Insurance.
So for me, the BCAs I take have glutamine in it.
Same.
It just is what it is, and I get it that way.
It does you can taste it. It does have like a weird bittery taste to it. So just be aware of that.
I will say, when me and the kids all got sick, you did not get sick. Were you taking it then?
Oh, shit.
And we were like sick.
Yeah, I've been taking it for a while.
Hell yeah.
Well, maybe it's working.
Everyone's going to buy glutamine now at the gym.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I sell here is the BCA glutamine combo.
Yeah, that's the one I take.
I found, Designs for Health has glutamine by itself, but its price point's absolutely ridiculous. And I love Designs for Health, but you have to balance cost of supplement for a mid-tier, maybe help, maybe not help. I'm not going to spend $100 for a month's supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting BCAAs and some glutamine, maybe helping, maybe just pissing away money.
You be
guys. Yeah. All right. All right. So you got to hit collagen. But do we want to go into, there's still a bunch of stuff. We're going to have to do a part 2 on this.
Yeah.
So we got collagen is another one. Mixed research on.
Center amino acid. Good for your skin. Good for your joints. Good for your joints, your ligaments, your tendons are all made with collagen.
Allegedly.
So
well, they're made with that. That's fact. But
correct.
Does collagen supplementation actually facilitate
that
any more better than hitting your protein goals?
Yeah.
That is still gray in research.
It's a mid-tier supplement.
Agreed. I'm not like, if you like collagen, cool. If you notice, the only thing I notice with collagen, which it probably has an effect, is my fingernails start growing quicker.
Mm-hmm.
There is one little study that showed recently, Dr. Lane Norton talked about it. It didn't convince him to talk about collagen as being something you need, but it showed a little more in the ligaments. It was showing a little more
Strength.
anabolism of
In the
the ligaments. Collagen user versus non-collagen user in a small little 7 people double-blind placebo study.
That is the definition of a low mid-tier supplement.
So I personally, in the mindset of collagen, I eat a ton of ground beef. Collagen is, ligaments and tendons and stuff are in ground beef, so I'm getting it from nature, and then bone broth is another great source of it. If you like it, cool. If you don't, cool. That's where I'm at on it.
Yep.
So, you make gummy bears with it, don't you? For the kids?
Yeah.
What? I want one.
Yeah.
And then we use honey to sweeten it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
It'd be good for cooking. What did you do? Put it in
Pancakes?
Claire's shake?
Collagen?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. She hates bone broth.
Yeah.
She despises.
That's
I know
it's fair for a 9-year-old.
sad.
She does
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah. But she likes.
You
chicken
gotta just
noodle
tell her
soup.
that it's beef stock. Just tell her it's beef stock. Don't tell her it's bone broth. Unless she'll really taste the difference.
If it looks like anything like chicken stock or bone broth or anything, she just
Not about it.
no.
Oh, that's
And I think it's
unfortunate.
because they kept giving it to her as a clear liquid in the
yeah.
hospital, and
Yeah.
so
One supplement,
Not about it.
it's
anymore.
a metal. Iron, you need to be aware of,
Especially if you're female.
especially if you're female, on low
Yeah.
side.
yeah. I would say that's where you should have blood work
Yep.
before supplementing, because in excess can be bad.
The only way to get rid of it is bloodletting, so going and donating blood essentially, or having a menstrual cycle. Or you have internal bleeding that you don't know that's going on, gastrointestinally.
bad.
That's all bad. But also
Benefits of looking at your poop in the morning.
knowing the ingredients in your multivitamin. They're
true.
Use your words.
supposed
There
to
you go.
specifically say this has iron in it. If it's a multivitamin that has iron in it, so most multivitamins should not have it in it unless it's labeled big and bold up front. Because what Cassie just said is, you can't get it out of your system very easily. It's not something that's just peed out.
Get blood work done
Get blood
before
work
you
done.
do that.
Yeah, I
I
would
did-
definitely not supplement unless that was a clear indication of
Yep.
needing. And you have to be careful. Vitamin C can increase iron absorption. Cooking in cast iron, there's other ways that you can kind of slowly acquire it but not know it.
Yep. So getting blood work, important one for iron, but also reading your labels.
Yeah.
Reading your labels. So, all right, all my notes on all
You
these
got to get your life together over there. That's a lot.
basic supplements.
How Derek prepared and how Chase prepared.
Well, I used AI to help aggregate a lot of this, but this is also from my 2 failed attempts at trying to put together a supplement. It's just really hard to talk to myself and not have dialogue about them.
That's fair.
So basically,
Yeah, this was more
came down
fun.
to this is what I take and why, and if you don't like that, whatever.
Yep.
So it wasn't as engaging, So to round this out, we can talk about, there's still a bunch of other stuff. So you guys listening, if you have questions on other supplements, something you might be taking that you're not sure of, obviously Chase has a good brain. My wife has a good brain. I have a
Good brain.
I think I got a good brain.
You got a good brain.
But ask us here in the gym. If you're not in the gym and you want to leave a comment on our YouTube page, we can. I'm planning on doing a follow up on this because I know there's going to be questions. There's some things we didn't get into per se, but I think we hit all of the general.
We hit a lot of the big ones, dude.
The big ones, and really anything outside that what we talked about. All these should be taken intentionally, but anything outside of this, be cautious of.
Yeah. Have purpose for what you're taking. Know why you're taking it.
Yeah.
Because we can get into ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha?
Oh, geez.
What's ashwagandha?
What she said,
Yeah.
not what we said.
Yeah.
Rhodiola.
Rosea.
There's another testosterone one.
Tongkat-Ali.
Tongkat-Ali.
I mean, it'd be endless.
Yeah,
The supplements are endless.
It's everything. dude.
Chastity.
Chase Berry.
What am I?
Berberine. Berberine.
Berberine, yeah, is interesting.
Glycine.
But again,
There's it's a lot. All right. And once you start getting out into these realms, it just needs to be very intentional. And like you're changing one thing because of a symptom and or a blood level to change, to have an effect.
Yeah.
Right. All the ones we've talked about so far, general health and fitness training related.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want me to start off what I take?
Yeah.
What do you think? So my staple supplements, multivitamin. I use men's packs from Pure Encapsulations, and I use AG1. I don't typically take those same day unless I had a really hard training day and or I undercaloried for whatever reason. But most of the time, it's just one or the other. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm taking whatever's not selling in the gym. So, like, if I'm not moving this product, like if
you just
the
start
men's
taking
packs, I'm going to use them. I'm not going to ship them back.
Yeah.
Right. So, for the most part, AG1 is my go-to. The reason we use that is because I do like First Form's OptiGreens, but it has some shelf stabilizers in it that for a healthy gut microbiome is not the end of the world, but for somebody in my house, it's stuff we stay away from. So I think so I put AG1, even though a studied thing just came out that apparently they're high in lead now. So that's going to have to go in the effing trash. I need to verify that.
Is that confirmed?
I don't know. It was getting shared a lot in the social medias from the influencers of the world. Like AG1's garbage, but they tried that to Element. They tried to kill Element.
Maltodextrin.
Yeah.
And it's stevia, right? An element?
Well, maltodextrin's used in Element to bind the natural flavors. So if you use the unflavored one, which is the one I use the most, you're not going to get the maltodextrin, but the levels of maltodextrin is so low. I've literally worn a glucose monitor on and off for a year.
So stupid.
And it did nothing.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
It's like it's the smallest amount of sugar and it's a binder to get the flavor. So anything with natural flavoring in it is using maltodextrin as the binder to get the flavor. Those of you know, I've watched my blood glucose diligently, and protein powder did not increase my blood glucose. Elements did not increase my blood glucose. So take it for what it is. But I think the social media world's like coming after AG1, and usually the follow-up company in the influencer space comes in and like, here's the solution. So
Gotcha.
I don't know. I'm still a believer. It's a very expensive product. And do you need it? No. If you like it, take it and can afford it. Sure. Whatever. I take vitamin D3, 4,000 IUs with K2 every day. Omega-3, I do 3 grams a day. Creatine, I do 5 grams a day. Whey protein, I do 78 grams per day.
You do 3 scoops?
3 scoops a day. And then I take 9 grams of fiber every day. And I use the one we have here at the gym, unflavored, simple fiber from First Form. Helps me hit the fiber goals that I'm short in. Secondary supplements. I've recently added a scoop of magnesium at night to potentially help with sleep. I do elements. I was doing 4 a day. I now do 2 unless it's a really long. Wow. So the 4 a day was when I was double days training and sauna. That's when I would do 4. Now I do 2. My blood levels of sodium has been stable, but blood pressure is still something I'm working to get more consistent good readings and bad readings. So do elements. And then also if I salted my steak or my ground beef really well, I don't drink a lot of elements. Fair. Stim-free pre-workout. I take that for the beta-alanine. I don't use that every single day. I still have some plain beta-alanine left that I'm still using up. So I use beta-alanine, but the stim-free pre-workout, I like it. It's flavored water. Probably more placebo than anything. BCA is glutamine. I already said why I take that. Collagen. I use it up if it's not selling, but I don't notice. I could care less if I take it or don't take it. And then I recently started taking nitric oxide for the pump.
There you go.
Ugh.
The tingles.
That's the beta-alanine.
Oh, yeah.
You're just, yeah.
Oh, nitric oxide is what you said.
And if I'm feeling sick, I take vitamin C.
Okay.
I increase it. But I don't feel sick very often.
Yeah,
Nitric. Everyone's going to buy nitric oxide now before they go on dates. They're going to do like 10
I haven't put it
push-ups
out
and
on the shelf.
do nitric oxide and freaking be like, I look great.
I like the feeling of my skin feeling tight.
It looks tight right now.
Thanks, pal.
You're welcome.
Who do you want to go next?
Sure. I take a greens powder. I take green vibrance. It tastes like ass, and you have to put it in the freezer.
You still taking that one?
Dude, it sucks. It's
clean,
so
though.
it is so clean, and it's so organic, and it's so granola. And fuck, if it didn't work, I would never touch it in my life.
What's it called?
Green vibrance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to
It's
put
more
it.
expensive than AG1.
Yeah, it's like $120.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, Cassie.
I'm so proud of you.
It's got every freaking thing you would ever want in it.
Yeah.
It's not a proprietary blend. It tells you the exact milligrams, whatever. I take a scoop of that every day. And I hold my nose as I do it because it's that god awful. And yes, it is in my freezer currently. So I take that. I take colostrum because I definitely believe that works. I notice a difference. I don't get sick.
I just ordered colostrum for the gym because
Yep.
the research is very supportive of it.
Yep. I think it's safe. I think it has multiple health benefits that,
And I'm going to start taking it.
yeah, I think it has multiple health benefits as not just, the
Is
ones.
it bovine?
Yes. Yeah. No. I'm not.
I didn't get it from...
I'm not suckling titties over here. I promise. Yeah.
wondering what the source is.
Bovine colostrum. Bovine,
Okay.
not human.
When you have a baby, I bet you get some
Yeah. Hey,
energy.
Jamie, I want a little bit more colostrum. I was never
The
breastfed.
freezer was
so-
full.
Yeah. So I take colostrum, and I definitely notice a difference. I feel healthier. I don't get sick, and it does help a lot with your intestine. Helps like make it not as like leaky, so to speak. It does make it have holes where there's not supposed to be holes. So colostrum. I take the green vibrance. I take a mineral supplement. I take what's the other one? Vitamin D and K2, the one we saw at the gym. And then I take omega-3, protein powder, organic Gatorade. I take like this longevity supplement, which is like NR longevity from Pure Encapsulations, which basically just helps with like mitochondria turnover at a healthy rate. I take ashwagandha for stress, anxiety, and stuff like that. Because I still am from Santa Cruz, California, I take cordyceps, like mushrooms, in a pill. Let's see, what else do I take? Creatine, BCAAs, glutamine, and one of the ones I started taking was inositol right before I go to bed. And inositol is a little bit different. It has a whole bunch of different properties, but it's supposed to help with. You're not allowed to take it if you are like a games athlete or you were trained like typically because it comes in myoinositol. It does help with like shuttling carbohydrate into mitochondria. But it also has all these other benefits for fertility, to anxiety and stress and all that stuff. And I've been taking that and I feel pretty good on that too. And that's all I can think of right now. Yeah.
We both have pretty long lists.
I do. I know. It's expensive. It's freaking expensive. So, all right, Cassie.
All right, ready? I don't think mine's this long. I do
She's
take
healthier.
Yeah.
I do take athletic greens, but not every day. It's usually, again, more of a supplement, like if I'm not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, which I try to be good on that. And I do fiber. I usually will supplement 10 to 20, depending on how much I'm getting through my foods. And then the most of my supplements are either for cholesterol and then hormone support. So I do Cholesterol from Pure Encapsulations, which is plant sterols to try to reduce cholesterol absorption through the gastrointestinal tract. And then berberine as well to try to reduce cholesterol a little bit. Berberine's used for a lot of different things, but specifically...
I have some members that had amazing results just with berberine.
With berberine, yeah. So I'm trying it. I've already seen, I think, a reduction with the fiber supplementation, and then adding Cholesterol. We'll kind of see what the berberine does on top of that. And then I take rhodiola just as an adaptogen and stress management, help with cortisol levels. Vitamin C I take for cortisol and then to hopefully elevate progesterone a little bit. Chased tree berry, same thing. Studies show that it can help elevate progesterone. And then I take Dimpro to try to help with estrogen metabolism. And that's it.
That's what you need.
And vitamin D.
Yeah, vitamin D.
Yeah.
You need Dimpro.
It's a good
dick.
So, I mean, Dimpro is used in the TRT world, but it's a whole nother conversation.
Yep.
What else?
I got nothing.
All right. All right, guys. So I think that wraps this up. Went over all the fundamental supplements. If you got questions, please let us know. I think I'm going to end up doing a follow-up on this one based on questions, and there's other stuff we can talk about. But yeah, so we're available here at the gym. If you got questions, we're happy to help point you in the right direction, so forth. This isn't like a buy our supplement kind of deal, but the supplements we do sell, I do try to find a balance between the highest quality and a fair price. There are higher quality supplements out there for sure, but then there becomes a price point like, ugh. So I strive to find the highest quality for the best price and mesh that the best that I possibly can. So you guys, that's my thought process when I stock inventory of supplements. If there is a supplement you're looking for, can't find, we do have access to Designs for Health, Pure Encapsulations, Transparent Labs, First Form. I think that's the big ones. But yeah, I can pretty much get access to most things. And I do know there's a handful of things from Designs for Health and Pure Encapsulations that blend over into more of a medical guided supplementation regimen that we can get for you. If there's something specific that you're looking for, just hit me up on that. I have a few members that I specifically order stuff for them from Pure Encapsulations and Designs for Health. So I just don't stock it. Cool.
fair enough.
Sounds great.
All right. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and catch you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Love you. Love you.